Lu Jiwei is no longer the reckless girl she used to be. Although her personality is still direct, she has developed a keen insight and is no longer the novice she once was. She has become a leader capable of handling things independently. When she noticed two suspicious individuals seeking information about Xiang Qingda, she quickly deduced some crucial details. Even if her deductions were not entirely accurate, they were very close to the truth. Thus, she immediately sought external assistance. Su Qiuan examined the 4 Heavenly Connection Realm martial artists with some surprise and said, "I thought Juzhou had sent all their martial arts experts to the front lines. But of course, we're guarding against vermin like you." A soft laugh echoed as a tall woman emerged from the shadows. This woman had wavy hair, wore red glasses, stepped in high heels, and exuded a mature beauty. Host, Dai Lan. SR level in pair system, realm, early heavenly connection. As a former member of the Unrestrained, she was a martial artist who had always been fighting for the unrestrained cause. Nowadays, Dai Lan has undergone a dramatic transformation. Standing on the branches on the other side was a cool and aloof man, Dai Lan's brother, who had awakened the SR-level Lone Ranger system. Another unrestrained member, Dai Ping, preferred to act alone. The sibling pair had received special attention from Xiang Beifei, realizing the true path of system cultivation, and their martial prowess had grown incredibly over 8 years. These two guys definitely aren't from the Demon Tentacle race or the Moon God race. Another steady and mature voice sounded. An elderly man with a dignified demeanor strode out. He was Helian Zheng, who had once returned the collected training resources and system suggestions from Xiang Beifei. Helian Zheng possessed the SSR-level route tracing system. 20 years ago, he was already a late Heavenly Connection Realm expert. After being rescued by Xiang Beifei, he received guidance, and now his aura was even more formidable. While not the strongest in Juzhou, he certainly ranked among the top. Currently, he is the acting leader of Unrestrained. Once Lu Jiwei sensed something amiss, she informed him immediately. Unrestrained may not fully be in the spotlight yet, but at least due to Xiang Beifei, Elder Luo acknowledged the existence of the organization, no longer allowing the Su Alliance to pursue Unrestrained. As for the last silent Heavenly Connection Realm expert, he was the one with the most intense killing intent, Xiao Sheng. Xiao Sheng, a martial artist with the SR-level integration system, was originally a martial artist. After his master Qin Hongyi was killed by Lu Xingdong and resurrected via parasitism by the ghost mustache of Remnant Visage, he left the Alliance to investigate the matter. Later, because Xiang Tianxing had saved his life, he had been secretly protecting Xiang Qingda and Xiang Beifei. Even after the truth came to light, he stayed and followed Old Master Xiang. Tonight, Helian Zheng informed him that someone had targeted Old Master Xiang, which is why he came. In Xiao Sheng's eyes, anyone daring to plot against Old Master Xiang deserved death. With the beast tides attacking and most experts heading to the front lines, it didn't mean they could slack off on inland defense. Elder Luo assigned the task of protecting inland safety to Unrestrained, avoiding the embarrassment of rear conflicts amid frontline battles. Unrestrained operates independently of the Alliance. Many in the Alliance are unaware of their relationship with Elder Luo, and Unrestrained has hidden everything well. The spy sent by the Dao Palace doesn't know about Helian Zheng's presence. Lu Jiwei, responsible for the safety of all cities in Liangzhou, knew her strength alone might be insufficient, so she called in Unrestrained. Her acquaintance with Helian Zheng came from Xiang Beifei's guidance. Buzz! A powerful light flashed, engulfing everyone. Helian Zheng isolated the space. Heavenly Connection Realm battles are extraordinary, with immense destructive power. As they were in the city center, unrestricted combat could lead to severe damage. The mission of Unrestrained now is to protect the city, so Helian Zheng brought everyone into the system space he created. For against 2, that's going to be tricky. Su Qiuan shook his head slightly. I told you to just make a move directly. It would save trouble. Hu Judy said coldly. You're right. I underestimated these humans. Su Qiuan initially believed that as an ancestral Dao realm expert who lived for thousands of years, His mindset and tactics would easily manipulate these Jojo humans, but he didn't expect that he was the one being outplayed. For Heavenly Connection Realm experts in the Edge Corner airspace, he could kill with just a glance. But in the Great Desolate Realm, he can't maintain such power, only reaching the late Heavenly Connection Realm. Su Qiyuan fixated on Helian Zheng. Among the 4 Heavenly Connection Realm experts, this elder was the most powerful, the one most capable of posing a threat, and must be dealt with first. "I'll deal with the old guy, you handle the rest," Su Qiyuan said. Swish! Su Qiyuan's form transformed into a swift light, charging directly at Helian Zheng. His speed was incredible. Even with suppressed power, his combat experience was extremely rich. As an expert in the ancestral Dao realm, he fully understood all aspects of Heavenly Connection Realm's qualities. So his attack left no room for mercy, aiming straight at Helian Zheng's vital point. If it were the old Helian Zheng, he might not have been able to resist, as he couldn't defeat the Eternal Night Demon King during the Eternal Night period. But the current Helian Zheng was entirely different. He almost instantly reacted to Su Qiyuan's attack, radiating a brown light that blocked Su Qiyuan. He seems to be suppressing himself, not using the yellow springs, so his true cultivation should be stronger than the Eternal Night Demon King. Helian Zheng immediately made this judgment, his eyes lighting up with faint glimmers as he observed Su Qiyuan. With his root tracing system, he could see through the essence of many things, including the opponent's attacks and the direction of their strikes. Xiang Beifei had once meticulously guided Helian Zheng on how to better utilize the full potential of this system ability. Being someone with the ability to learn by analogy, his analytical skills were exceedingly strong. Sharing his experience with Helian Zheng was immensely beneficial for him. Helian Zheng's brow also furrowed deeply. After receiving news from Lu Jiwei, his first consideration was that this intruder was most likely a master on the level of the Eternal Night Demon King. Because Xiang Beifei had previously taught him how to identify meat-winged monsters and the demon tentacle race, and with the help of Elder Luo, this protection was applied to the walls of Jojo City. This meant that even the ghost mustache of Remnant Visage and the Moon God race couldn't blend into Jojo by occupying the bodies of pioneers unless the person's strength was stronger or was of a race not yet identified by the walls. Then it is highly likely that they come from the Edge Corner airspace. The more Helian Zheng thought, the more alarmed he became. He had never been to the Edge Corner airspace, but Xiang Tianqing had once mentioned its existence to him, aware of a formidable power there. Whether Jiaoluoluo or Xiang Tianqing, they all went to investigate this power, and it was during his own investigation of the Bone Mountain Desert Stone Cave matter that he encountered trouble. However, Helian Zheng also understood that he must give his all. If he couldn't subdue this person, it could be extremely troublesome. Beifei once said that occupying someone else's body always has a weakness. I know the weakness of the meat-winged monster, so what about this guy's? Helian Zheng's thoughts raced as he dealt with Su Qiyuan's stormy attacks, while also contemplating how to resolve the battle. On the other side, Hu Judi also enveloped 3 experts of the Heavenly Connection Realm. Overestimating oneself. Hu Judi had always looked down on the human race in her heart. Su Qiyuan had always blocked her from killing indiscriminately. But now, having the perfect opportunity, how could she let it slip? Swish! Brown dust of breath soil gathered around her body, densely interwoven with each other, emanating threads of cold murderous intent. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! The wild sand swept, bringing with it terrifying and potent killing aura, crashing towards Xiao Shang and the Dai siblings. Xiao Shang calmly watched the dust filling the sky, his body instantly lighting up with threads of blue mist, these blue mists transforming into ripples that spread out, meeting the dust. The dust immediately erupted with killing aura within the blue mist, attempting to tear them apart. But Xiao Shang's blue mist was very uncanny. Instead of blocking the dust, it accepted it. All rivers run into sea. This was a very powerful ability of Xiao Shang, who had awakened an SR-level integration system, capable of merging everything together, even the opponent's attacks. With a wave of his hand, the surrounding blue mist roiled up instantly. Then, all the blue mist simulated the form of breath soil, reversing to strike at Hu Judi. Boom! 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 Two completely different breath soils collided in midair, instantly erupting into intense roars. Hu Judi's breath soil actually did not benefit, being directly broken. How is this possible? How can a lowly human use breath soil? Hu Judi was exceedingly astonished. Breath soil was a divine object of their Huta tribe, almost impossible to replicate outside of those who practiced the Huta Dao. Otherwise they wouldn't have been able to govern all the races in the Edge Corner airspace with their unique control over breath soil. Yet this human here actually managed to do it. Most importantly, she initially thought this person with the strongest killing intent was at best at the mid-level of heavenly connection, but now she realized, this guy is also at the late level of heavenly connection. Swish! Xiao Shang showed no sign of stopping, his body still full of fierce killing intent as he charged at Hu Judi. As for the breath soil, it was assimilated with the help of Xiang Beifei, who spared no effort in aiding those who protected his grandfather. On the other side, although Dai Ping and Dai Lan were relatively weaker, they acted decisively, the two of them disrupting Hu Judi to create opportunities for Xiao Shang, which was sufficient. Boom! 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 Several Heavenly Connection Realm experts exerted their full strength, throwing the entire space into chaos, with terrifying currents of disorder everywhere. If Helian Zheng hadn't been prepared, the impact might have been enough to shatter the system space. As for Lu Jiwei, knowing her strength wasn't enough, she didn't participate in the battle and had already withdrawn. Su Qiyuan and Hu Judi both realized they couldn't take these people down in a short time, feeling something amiss. These people's strength was clearly not as weak as they had imagined. Even with their ancestral Dao realm mindsets, they couldn't gain an advantage in front of these people. But Helian Zheng also sensed something was off. There's not a single flaw. The more Helian Zheng fought, the more grim he became. This guy was far stronger than he had imagined. Even with his route tracing, he couldn't find a flaw in the opponent's moves. Things were getting detrimental this way. Because the system space he had set was meant to ensure the onslaught didn't leak outside. Yet the combat impact of 6 Heavenly Connection Realm experts was indeed so strong. It was enough to shatter the system space. This was the park in the city center, densely populated. If the system space were broken, the impact would fall on those innocent residents, and the losses would be extremely severe. Su Qiyuan clearly realized this too. Your task is to protect Jojo City, but us, we are not. He gave a sinister smile, all his power concentrating on the breath soil, forming a massive hand that struck forward. But this strike wasn't aimed at Helian Zheng, but at the surrounding system space. Boom! The explosive breath soil crashed into the space condensed by the system, the brown spiritual power clinging like maggots on a bone, quickly turning the system space inside out with this spiritual power's backlash, beginning to show cracks. Crack, crack, crack. The cracks in space grew larger, and soon exploded, returning them to the park, with violent spiritual power immediately sweeping out, destroying the park's benches and plants. Now fighting becomes much easier. Su Qiyuan smirked, a strong spiritual power condensing in his hand again. Rumble. The soil on the ground seemed to be drawn by his spiritual power, starting to rise, all of it being flipped over, and the massive trenches rapidly moved towards the residential area outside the park. Over 1,000 people lived in that residential area, many of whom had just been evacuated from border cities. If it were destroyed, the casualties would be extremely severe. Stop! Helian Zhang cried out in a low voice, rushing to the residential area, quickly conjuring a barrier of spiritual power in front of the area, but by doing so, revealing his own weaknesses. Goodbye! Su Qiyuan laughed loudly. His target wasn't the residential buildings, but he utilized them to distract Helian Zheng. Swish! Su Qiyuan moved swiftly, arriving at Helian Zheng's side in an instant, chopping a palm towards Helian Zheng's head. The palm wind fierce. Once it hit, Helian Zheng's soul would be severed. But at that moment, a powerful big hand suddenly appeared in front of Helian Zheng. This big hand shimmering with golden light, instantly slapping Su Qiyuan away, hurling him into the ground, creating a large pit. How could it be, this aura? It's... Su Qiyuan's smile vanished, his face filled with shock and rage as he climbed up from the ground. staring dead at the person who had suddenly appeared. The figure in the darkness was slender, their appearance unclear, but the aura made Su Qiyuan's heart skip a beat. Wu Feng. Decades ago, Wu Feng, just a man and his sword, stormed Common Valley. Under the siege of more than a dozen ancestral Dao realm experts, he managed to kill 5 Dao Palace and ancestral Dao realm experts, then vanished without a trace. Su Qiyuan also experienced that battle. At that time, he teamed up with his companions but, at first contact, was severely injured by Wu Feng's sword and lost his combat ability. Back then, he felt fortunate to be gravely injured because otherwise, he would likely have been killed, and even if he were revived, he might not be able to recover now. Now, seeing Wu Feng's aura again, Su Qiyuan reflexively tensed, and his pupils dilated. Bang! 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 In the distance, Hu Judi also temporarily fended off Xiao Shang and the others, returning to Su Qiyuan's side while vigilantly watching the figure in the shadows. This guy, could it be? Hu Judi exclaimed. Wu Feng. He's still alive, Su Qiyuan said coldly. Hu Judi gasped. Wu Feng cast a significant shadow over them because they knew how terrifying that person was back then. 2 late-stage Dao Palace ancestral Dao experts were slain by him, even during a frontal siege, something they haven't forgotten to this day. On the other side, Helian Zhang and his group were clearly shocked as well. They did not recognize this aura, but the silhouette looked very familiar. Among those present, perhaps only Xiao Shang knew the person's identity. Old Master Xiang, because he had seen this old man make a move more than once. He had always been by the old man's side. Whenever the old man lost control, he would rush to the outer realm wilderness and smash Cho Ho. The aura revealed by him then was just like this. Even Xiao Shang was quite surprised. After receiving the message, he ensured the old man went to sleep before rushing here, not expecting the old man to suddenly appear. The siblings Dai Ping and Dai Lan exchanged glances. They vaguely felt something was wrong but couldn't pinpoint why, as they weren't sure why such a powerful expert suddenly appeared. However, it was apparent that this elderly newly appeared was a friend, not a foe, which evidently relieved them. They immediately charged to the side, forming a surrounding stance, encircling these 2 powerful, uninvited guests. At this moment, Hu Judi quickly regained calmness and said, "No, he was clearly injured back then. If he escaped back to Juzhou, that would mean he's just at the late stage of heavenly connection now." Late stage of heavenly connection. The suppression of the heavenly Tao in Great Desolate Realm is the same for all, and the Wu Feng before their eyes clearly only had the aura of a heavenly connection realm. At this moment, golden light shone from Xiang Qingda's body, and those eyes were enveloped in majestic golden light, like golden flames burning, the whole person resembling a golden deity. Whoosh! All the flames rapidly spread out. Every structure, every plant, every leaf in the park seemed to ignite with golden light, forming a golden flame barrier, encircling Su Qiyuan and Hu Judi again, preventing the aura here from leaking out. This burning golden flame made everyone present apprehensive. Whether it was Helian Zhang or Su Qiyuan and Hu Judi, they could clearly sense the terror of this golden flame. Once crossed, even spiritual power might be ignited. Buzz! Xiang Qingda didn't say a word, just took a step forward. The space seemed to tremble, twisting into golden ripples, his whole body turning to face Su Qiyuan and Hu Judi, wielding a golden streak and slashing at them. Su Qiyuan and Hu Judi wanted to resist, but they quickly found in horror that the opponent was too fast. Before they could even raise their hands, the golden streak had already slashed their bodies apart. Bang! Bang! The 2 were like puppets with snapped strings, blasted to the ground. The Dao sheath they resided in crawled with terrifying cracks, as if about to collapse. Damn! He's still that strong. The terror of Wu Feng in Su Qiyuan's heart was again stirred. That absolute powerful suppression made them too fearful. Aside from the earth god of their Huta tribe, perhaps no one could withstand that strike. However, the 2 were not to be underestimated. Being ancestral Dao realm experts after their bodies were harmed, they weren't overly panicked. Instead, they swiftly condensed their breath soil to mend the cracks in their bodies. Because they were attached to this body, The body was a Dao sheath used to evade the heavenly Dao divine pattern. If the Dao sheath collapsed, they would be directly exposed to the heavenly Dao divine pattern, instantly killed. Soon, the two rushed out from the ground, their wounds filled by breath soil, appearing extremely bizarre. But this was not a time to care about their appearance, as thinking of another plan was essential for survival. Together, Su Qiyuan shouted lowly. The breath soil instantly covered the surroundings, and the wild sand suddenly obscured everyone's sight and their aura. Helian Zhang and his group initially wanted to seek opportunities but immediately lost perception of Su Qiyuan and Hu Judy, as if the two fused with the breath soil. Swoosh! Swoosh! Su Qiyuan and Hu Judy stealthily approached, disappearing into the sky full of yellow sand. When they reappeared, they had surrounded Xiang Qingde from left and right. Seizing the moment, they struck Xiang Qingde with vicious tactics. But Xiang Qingde merely looked up coldly in the air. Facing the pincer attack from Su Qiyuan and Hu Judy, two beams of light surged from his body. Bam! Bam! The two beams of light instantly struck Su Qiyuan and Hu Judy, blasting them away. Damn it! He's still so powerful during the heavenly connection stage. The two climbed up from the ground, both shocked and furious, realizing they had underestimated Wu Feng's strength. The power displayed by Wu Feng was truly terrifying. Swoosh! Xiang Qingde took a step, reaching Hu Judy's side in an instant. He stretched out his hand, gripping Hu Judy's neck, lifting her like a chick. Golden spiritual power flowed from his body through his arm into Hu Judy's, and she felt a tremendous pressure, her soul almost about to explode. She couldn't withstand it with her heavenly connection stage power. Don't think you can kill me. Hu Judy let out a sharp roar, having reached a dead end, as she was no match for Wu Feng. If this continued, she would be slain by the heavenly connection stage Wu Feng, which was not her primary purpose for being here. But she wasn't without a last resort, because she had a trump card that she wouldn't use unless it was absolutely necessary. Buzz! Violent spiritual power surged from Hu Judy, the aura continuously rising, breaking free from the shackles of the late heavenly connection stage. Immortal realm. Boom! Hu Judy's spiritual power surprisingly shattered the golden beam's constraints, repelling Xiang Qingde. Buzz! Hu Judy raised her head, looking at the sky with a face full of resentment because she sensed the aura of the heavenly Dao. A certain powerful law of the heavenly Dao from the Great Desolate Realm had targeted her. The Great Desolate Realm was bound by a certain divine pattern of the heavenly Dao, prohibiting the existence of powerhouses beyond the heavenly connection stage. Otherwise, they would be obliterated. The Grand Dao is heartless, and no one can oppose it, not even the Dao Palace unless they could find the ancestral artifact controlling this heavenly Dao. But Hu Judy wasn't immediately slain by this heavenly Dao because the power of the immortal realm could still exist in the Great Desolate Realm for a period. If she could quickly leave the Great Desolate Realm in that time and return to the Edge Corner airspace, she could survive. Of course, Hu Judy couldn't advance her cultivation to the Inquiry Dao Realm or Ancestral Dao Realm. Inside the Great Desolate Realm, once she reached the immortal realm, the stronger she exhibited her power, the quicker she would die. If at the Inquiry Dao Realm, she would be obliterated before she could even move. To live a little longer, she only dared to keep her cultivation at the initial stage of the immortal realm, but it was enough because the initial stage of the immortal realm was almost invincible in the Great Desolate Realm. Even if I'm erased by the heavenly Dao, I must kill you first. Hu Judy stared fiercely at Xiang Qingde, willing to die herself but taking Xiang Qingde down with her. She knew Xiang Qingde was surely also restricted by the heavenly Dao of the Great Desolate Realm, afraid to display the immortal realm power, for he would also be obliterated. The Dao Palace possessed the resurrection divine pattern of the heavenly Dao, so even if slain here, Hu Judy could resurrect in the Dao Palace, but Xiang Qingde couldn't. She had no scruples. He did, so she held the initiative. Boom! A red light shone from Hu Judy. The breath soil around her seemed to be dyed with blood, appearing extremely enchanting. The red breath soil held, faintly overpowering Xiang Qingde's strength. When this bloody soil surged, it even changed the faces of Helian Zhang and the others. Immortal realm. Helian Zhang was all too familiar with this power because he had seen it deep in the outland wastes. It was extremely fearsome, posing a tremendous threat to everyone here, enough to destroy a city. Boom! The sky full of bloody soil immediately rushed towards Xiang Qingde, suppressing the surrounding golden flames back. Xiao Shang and Helian Zhang rushed over immediately, trying to help Xiang Qingde resist this terrifying bloody soil. But as soon as they flew into the air, they were blasted away by the drifting bloody soil. The power of the immortal realm was still too terrifying for them. It wasn't a battle of the same level. You really shouldn't have forced me to unleash this power. Hu Judy knew she was destined to die, but before being resurrected back in the Dao Palace, she wanted to make these humble humans understand the consequences of offending her. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The staggering bloody soil swept through with violent power, covering the area. The barrier formed by the original golden flame was starting to crack, the flames receding gradually as Xiang Qingde's barrier was about to fail. Boom! Hu Judy's target was Wu Feng. If she could exchange her life for his, it would be worth it. By killing Wu Feng, the Dao Palace's major threat could be eliminated. She moved too fast, sweeping everyone aside, giving them no chance to react, and in an instant, she was above Xiang Qingde. The bloody soil in the air condensed into a sharp blade, slashing towards Xiang Qingde's brow. Stop! Xiao Shang roared furiously, attempting to rush over to help the old man fend off the strike. But his speed fell far short of Hu Judy's, leaving him too late by the time he reacted. Seeing Hu Judy was about to slay Xiang Qingde, at that moment, the surrounding golden flames suddenly surged violently again. Whoosh! The power of these flames climbed quickly, the air seemingly warped with friction, and all the bloody soil above was suddenly set ablaze. The golden flames indeed possessed the power of the immortal realm. Meanwhile, Xiang Qingde's figure moved like lightning, dodging the sharp blade in Hu Judy's hand, and caught her neck once more with a backhand. Hu Judy was momentarily stunned, not expecting Wu Feng to display the immortal realm power too. Ha! The immortal realm. Seems you're courting death. Even though Hu Judy was seized by Wu Feng, she still relished in her feelings, for her death merely led to resurrection. But Wu Feng would touch off the divine pattern of the heavenly Tao in the great desolate realm, making resurrection impossible. The exchange was worth it. Her power continued to rise. Since she was going to die anyway, she might as well employ more potent force, thus forcing Wu Feng to use even greater power to kill her, meaning Wu Feng would die faster. But Xiang Qingde no longer gave her the chance. This time, just as Hu Judy was gathering the mid-stage immortal realm power, the golden flames in Xiang Qingde's hand already surrounded her, burning her soul. Ah! You wait. I will return eventually, but you won't. Hu Judy let out a shrill, miserable cry, agonized by the golden flames, but she still issued a furious taunt before being burnt to ruin. Boom! Hu Judy was directly incinerated by the golden flames until not a speck of ash remained. Xiang Qingde's palm was still wreathed in flame as he turned his head, his majestic golden eyes locking onto Su Qiyuan. Damn it! Su Qiyuan saw the situation and, without hesitation, turned to flee. Hu Judy was killed, but the task here was not complete. He could not leave, for he came to Zhezhou to find the human Tao's ancestral artifact fragment, not to perish alongside Wu Feng. In his view, Wu Feng was already a dead man, just a matter of sooner or later. He didn't want Wu Feng to end up killing him too. Su Qiyuan fled rapidly. After Hu Judy breached the Golden Flames barrier earlier, he had already dashed out of the barrier. Seeing Wu Feng's target turn towards him, he dared not linger, running out of the barrier, exiting the park, and without any hesitation, he waved his hand. Boom! 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 All the surrounding breath soil shook. The streets cracked open, and mighty breath soil burst forth from the sewers, crashing against the skyscrapers lining both sides of the street. These breath soils were too powerful, continuously assaulting the tall buildings on both sides of the city. In a moment, the streets kept cracking, and the nearest two buildings started toppling over. Xiang Qingde furrowed his eyebrows, and golden flames immediately spread up the building, making it look as though the entire structure was ablaze. Yet, it was precisely because of these golden flames that the tendency of the building to collapse was halted. The commotion here startled everyone, and the residents inside the building woke up from their slumber. Seeing the building shake and flames burning outside, they screamed in terror. The chaotic sounds of collisions, calls for help from adults, children's cries, and the shattering of windows echoed incessantly. The building was instantly in chaos. Many shouted, searching for escape routes. The stairs were damaged, so they crowded by the windows calling for help. The floors were tilted, making it impossible to stand, and some people were trapped underneath furniture, causing the scene to be chaotic. This area was filled with residential zones, and many were N-level and R-level awakeners. Their cultivation was not powerful, whether in literary Dao or martial Dao, and they lacked self-protection abilities in such sudden situations. "Protect the residents," Helian Zheng shouted. The sibling duo, Dai Ping and Dai Lan, immediately sprang into action to intercept the breath soil. Helian Zheng turned and with a wave, powerful spiritual power in the air transformed into a giant hand, supporting the leaning building. Fortunately, there were always patrolling martial arts college students on the streets. Although their combat abilities were not high, they possessed various unique skills. Those who could fly had already leapt into the air to aid the people, while others laid layers of soft foam on the ground to catch the residents falling from windows. The entire city district was in disarray. Lu Jiwei, who had not participated in the fight earlier, was on guard outside and rushed over at the first sign of trouble, continuously directing the crowds, conducting rescue and evacuation. Only Xiao Shang and Xiang Qingde remained at the scene. Xiao Shang's task was not to protect the residents, but to protect the old man. However, amid this chaos, Su Qiyuan had already vanished. He dared not linger because if he continued to cause destruction in the residential area, Xiang Qingde, who was in the immortal realm, had the power to kill him. He was unafraid of death, but he could not die yet. "Go help them," Xiang Qingde uttered in a hoarse, low voice toward Xiao Shang. "I need to be here," Xiao Shang calmly replied. Although the golden flames on the old man were terrifying, displaying a power many times stronger than his, Xiao Shang felt something wasn't right. He, being sharp-minded, remembered what Hu Judy had said before dying. Hu Judy clearly mentioned that using the power of the immortal realm would lead to trouble. He didn't understand the reason and couldn't comprehend why the old man he had been working with was such a terrifying person. But he could guess that this immortal realm power was forbidden. At this moment, the old man was completely different from the optimistic elderly person he normally appeared to be, which made Xiao Shang increasingly worried. The power in Xiang Qingde's body was still very strong, but he suddenly glanced at the sky and let out a slight sigh. The golden flames on his body gradually dissipated, and the terrifying force also retreated. Xiang Qingde's once gleaming golden eyes became murky again, and now he exuded a sense of defeat, as if something had entangled him, making him appear lifeless. "I didn't expect it to come to this," the old man said to Xiao Shang, his voice weary, as if his energy had been drained. "What should I do? Tell me what I need to do," Xiao Shang asked urgently. Xiang Qingde landed on the ground, swaying twice, seemingly unstable. Xiao Shang quickly stepped on the ground, gathering soil into a chair, helping the old man to sit down. However, the old man's aura grew weaker, and his vitality was gradually dissipating. The power of the heavenly Tao had invisibly clung to him, destroying his foundation. No matter how formidable Wufeng is said to be, it seems incapable of resisting the power of the heavenly Tao. At this moment, a mocking voice suddenly came from the side. Xiao Shang abruptly turned his head, spotting the figure beside him. Su Qiyuan had his arms crossed in front of him, standing nearby, looking at Xiang Qingde with derision. He had doubled back. "You deserve to die," Xiao Shang roared, as the energy around him rapidly condensed. Dust gathered into breath soil around him, transforming into sharp blades, lunging toward Su Qiyuan. "You were just injured. You're simply no match for me." Seeing Xiao Shang charging, Su Qiyuan didn't hesitate, stomping the ground fiercely. With a loud rumble, the breath soil on the ground shot up like earthen spikes, blasting Xiao Sheng away. Xiao Sheng felt like his body was falling apart. Indeed, he had been seriously injured. Earlier, when Hu Judy used the power of the immortal realm, it had hurt him, but he struggled to get up from the ground, refusing to fall, as he needed to protect the old man. But he couldn't get up, as the soil on the ground seemed to come alive, pinning him down, binding him to the ground. Su Qiyuan stood where he was, scrutinizing Xiang Qingde, not attacking immediately. He needed to confirm that Xiang Qingde was already enveloped by the power of the heavenly Tao and could no longer use the power of the immortal realm. He originally planned to leave directly, but considering his quest for the human ancestor artifact fragments, he decided to double back. Initially, I thought the human Tao ancestral artifact fragment was with Xiang Beifei's grandfather, but unexpectedly I found Wufeng. So, it's obvious that Wufeng must know where the human Tao ancestral artifact fragment is. I should have realized it sooner. A teenager with N-level genius, who can easily defeat many SSR and UR-level awakeners. How could his family be so simple? Su Qiyuan looked at the increasingly weak Xiang Qingde, then snapped his fingers. Whiz, whiz, whiz. The earth spread rapidly, tightly trapping Xiang Qingde's entire body. Tell me, where is the human Tao ancestral artifact fragment? Su Qiyuan demanded coldly. Thud. A sharp blade pierced Xiang Qingde's chest. Xiang Qingde looked at Su Qiyuan. He no longer had the ability to resist but did not show any sign of pain. Even when the blade had stabbed into his spirit, he did not frown. If you don't speak, I will destroy this city in front of you. Kill everyone in this city, Su Qiyuan taunted. Thud. Another blade forged from breath soil nailed through all of Xiang Qingde's limbs. Blood had already soaked Xiang Qingde's clothes, but he remained unflinching, his turbid eyes calm, without a ripple, only that his eyelids grew heavier, unable to open them. To kill the people of the city or to kill all the human race, Xiang Qingde knew well which weighed heavier. The human Tao ancestral artifact fragment is the key to the human race's immortality. Otherwise, the human race would be erased from this world, unable to exist again. It's my folly. How could you possibly speak? Su Qiyuan seemed to realize this too and began to laugh. He confirmed that Xiang Qingde had no ability to resist. Then he walked step by step towards Xiang Qingde and stopped just in front of him. A smug look was evident on his face. Back in Common Valley, you were all the rage, killing so many of us. But you wouldn't have thought, would you, that those people weren't dead, right? The resurrected heavenly Tao divine pattern made our race invincible. Look at you now. Would you have thought you'd end up like this? But at this moment, Xiang Qingde raised his head slightly, looking at Su Qiyuan with his half-open eyes. I thought you would come back. His voice was very weak. What? Su Qiyuan was shocked, feeling something was wrong. But at this moment, the blood on Xiang Qingde's body suddenly burned again, like dazzling golden flames, crazily scorching, igniting the breath soil. This terrifying golden flame immediately enveloped Su Qiyuan, and because he let his guard down, being so close, he couldn't react at all. Whoosh! The flames set Su Qiyuan's body ablaze. Bastard! Damn you! You dare! Su Qiyuan never expected Wufeng to hold such a trump card, thinking the other had been brought to the brink of death by heavenly Tao's power, which is why he dared to approach. Yet he underestimated the former Wufeng. He roared furiously, wanting to unleash immortal realm abilities to break free from this power. But the golden flame firmly suppressed him, already igniting his spirit. When he tried to mobilize spiritual power, it was immediately ignited by the golden flame. Ah! Su Qiyuan screamed in agony, unable to resist, directly consumed by the golden flame. Bang! The breath soil scattered, the wounds on Xiang Qingde's body still bleeding. He swayed twice, then sat down on the ground. Old sir. Xiao Sheng struggled to climb up from the ground, and with Su Qiyuan's death, the breath soil binding him disappeared too. Though severely injured, he couldn't care less about his injuries at this moment, enduring the pain as he rushed to Xiang Qingde's side. At this moment, Xiang Qingde was filled with a desolate aura, as if an irresistible force from the sky was pressing down on him, tearing his foundation apart. No! Xiao Sheng frantically supported him, immediately looking at his system interface, expending 10 million system points to exchange for a restoration pill. It was the best healing elixir in his system, but as the elixir approached the old gentleman, the desolate aura on him shattered it. It's completely useless. The power of the heavenly Tao is too strong, completely beyond what he can contend with. There must be a way. Xiao Sheng roared quietly. He had always been an extremely calm person, so calm that it was almost unfeeling, and he never really cared about others. But now he was utterly confused. He hated this feeling, as the aura around the old man seemed to remind him of his past. More than 20 years ago, due to the constant command of that SSR, the beast tide broke through the defense line, and that desolate beast killed his master Qin Hongyi right in front of him, killed the person he respected the most. He became silent and withdrawn ever since, shutting himself off. Only when he followed the old man did he feel life was meaningful. The old man always carried an optimistic aura, influencing those around him, granting hope, making him willing to follow this elder. But now the same situation seemed about to happen again, making it unbearable for him. He watched as the gray, ominous aura enveloped the old man, then shouted forcefully as the power of all rivers run into sea surged forth, gathered in his hand. He wanted to use his fusion ability to guide that power. However, the power was too terrifying to fuse. It shattered his aura instantly. Yet Xiao Sheng did not give up. He desperately gathered his system ability, pooling all his strength together to approach that gray aura. He shouted fiercely, exerting all his strength until finally, the aura stopped resisting him. Instead, it flowed along his strength to him, reached his soul and transferred to his system. Crack. A crack appeared on his system interface. How could this be? Xiao Sheng stared at his system in disbelief. His system had actually cracked. Looking at the cracked system, he could faintly perceive the power beyond the system. It was the power of the immortal realm. Within arm's reach, Xiang Qingde was already lying on the ground, the power of the heavenly Tao still continuously destroying his foundation. But this time he couldn't defend himself. Taoist Qingde. A voice sounded from the darkness. Xiao Sheng sharply turned his head to watch defensively at the distance. It was a stranger middle-aged man, but his power was overwhelming. Who are you? Xiao Sheng demanded fiercely. Qian Qingba, one of your own. The newcomer was Qian Qingba, who had been journeying in the Great Desolate Realm for a year. A year ago, he received instructions from Xiang Beifei and had been heading to Juzhou, only arriving now. On his way back, he noticed the beast tide and felt something was wrong. So following the information Xiang Beifei left him, he came to the city to find Taoist Qingde, hoping he could find him first. I don't trust you. I have no time to explain. Qian Qingba saw the terrifying power flowing around Xiang Qingde. With his cultivation level, he could tell that aura, it was the power of the heavenly Tao in the Great Desolate Realm, enough to destroy anyone. But luckily, Qian Qingba knew what to do. Xiang Beifei had given him a lot of yin-yang source energy, which he promptly guided and covered Xiang Qingde with. As yin-yang source energy entered his body, it quickly simulated the heavenly Tao power, constantly converting Xiang Qingde's aura into a range that the heavenly Tao power permitted, gradually disguising Xiang Qingde's aura with the yin-yang source energy. The heavenly Tao power seemed confused by the yin-yang source energy and yet still attached to Xiang Qingde, refusing to depart, wanting to tear apart the disguise to destroy the person underneath. No good. The power of the heavenly Tao is too strong. I can't dispel it. This yin-yang source energy might only last 10 days or even less. It requires the human king to resolve. Qian Qingba wiped away his sweat. The yin-yang source energy didn't originate from him but from Xiang Beifei. Casting it cost him greatly. He glanced at the chaotic surroundings, filled with screaming civilians, then turned to look at the severely injured Xiao Sheng, reaching out to restore his injuries with a slap. Follow me. Save him at all costs. Qian Qingba took Xiang Qingde and Xiao Sheng and rushed toward the border. He initially intended to let Xiao Shang care for Taoist Qingda alone, but he wasn't at ease and needed to protect in person while attending to a similarly crucial task. "Where are you taking us?" Xiao Shang hollered. "To the front lines to find Luo Yunxian. Qian Qingba must inform Luo Yunxian of the traitor who infiltrated the alliance." The battle on the Jiuzhou border is becoming more and more intense. In the blink of an eye, it's already the fourth wave of beast tides. By now, the power of the beast tides has become increasingly formidable. The first wave only had beasts at the Qi-controlling and meridian opening stages, but now there are desolate beasts at the god-refining stage charging in. A tall figure stands atop the wall, commanding martial artists to fight against those desolate beasts. Many martial artists, under the guidance of this powerful elder from the Dao Palace, are exerting all their strength to resist the desolate beasts. Kill! Wu Yiming exudes a formidable power, personally slaying the invading desolate beasts, boosting morale. No matter what, until he kills Luo Yunxian, Wu Yiming must disguise his identity. As a respected Jiuzhou official, he needs to fulfill his duty and fight fiercely against the enemy. Although the beast tides grow stronger, seeing wave after wave of beast tides being eliminated under the command of this admirable official, the martial artist's fighting spirit heightens continuously. Just after he dealt with a desolate beast at the god-refining stage, he suddenly sensed something, frowned, and turned to look toward the Jiuzhou mainland behind him. "The beast tide is temporarily retreating. Quickly repair the defensive formation. I will report the situation to the leader. No laxity allowed. Switch shifts to rest. The beast tides may very well return." Wu Yiming sternly commanded the martial artists. "Yes." Many responded with immediate respect. Wu Yiming turned around and disappeared from the spot. Instead of heading to the command room, he appeared by a small mountain ravine 5 kilometers away from the city wall. Here is a defensive buffer zone with various traps laid out. He didn't bother with the traps, but instead groped on the ground and then rolled his hand. Whish! A great deal of breath soil emerged from the ground, which he collected in his hand. A faint glow emanated from his palm as if sensing the condition of the breath soil, and then his expression changed slightly. "Those two idiots! They actually died." He cursed silently. This breath soil carried the message Su Qiyuan sent before his death to notify him. But after analyzing it carefully for a moment, he suddenly became startled. "Xiang Qingda? Wu Fing is Xiang Qingda? How is this possible?" He was utterly astonished. When Xiang Beifei became famous, he secretly investigated this person's background, especially Xiang Beifei's grandfather Xiang Qingda, whom he had investigated thoroughly. But he distinctly remembered Xiang Qingda was just an ordinary N-level awakener, with no discrepancies in the records, just a common old man. How could he be the Wu Fing that made ancestor Dao experts of the Dao Palace tremble? However, the information left by Su Qiyuan and Hu Judi before their deaths would not be false, indicating that this guy really is Wu Fing. This means the fragments of the human Dao ancestral weapon are on Wu Fing. It seems I miscalculated, but still, at least those two fools didn't die in vain. They allowed me to confirm who Wu Fing is. He sneered. Having infiltrated Jiuzhou for over 20 years, his mission included finding Wu Fing. Without a confirmed identity for Wu Fing, he dared not act rashly, for he couldn't guarantee how Wu Fing would act. Now that Wu Fing's true identity has been ascertained, there are no more hesitations. In Jiuzhou, only two people could truly make him fearful. One is the hidden Wu Fing, the other is Jiuzhou's currently strongest force, Luo Yunxian. Comparatively, Wu Fing was his greatest concern because Wu Fing's whereabouts were uncertain, making it impossible to annihilate the Jiuzhou human race. But now, Su Qiyuan and the others have used their lives to uncover Wu Fing, and they even managed to make Wu Fing use his immortal realm power, which means Wu Fing doesn't have long to live. His spirit lifted, knowing how powerful the heavenly Dao laws of the great desolate realm are. Any ancestral Dao expert understands that no one can withstand the protection of the ancestral weapon, and Wu Fing is no exception. So the next step is to kill Luo Yunxian, and Jiuzhou can be completely destroyed. A cold gleam appeared in his eyes. Wu Feng has already lost his fighting capability, so there's no need to hide anymore. The real beast tide is about to begin. Boom! A flash of light dazzled as Elder Luo personally intervened and destroyed 2 desolate beasts at the god refining stage that were attacking the city wall. This was the 59th desolate beast at the god refining stage he had eliminated. Yet, he didn't show any sign of relaxation, maintaining a solemn expression. Although he could easily eradicate these god refining stage desolate beasts, it didn't mean that other places could easily kill these beasts. Juzhou does not lack pioneers and defenders with god refining stage power, but the problem is the Juzhou defense line stretches for tens of thousands of miles, and even with the distribution of all god refining stage individuals, it's impossible to ensure there is one guarding every mile. The battle lines are too stretched out, and this side is on passive defense. No matter how strong Elder Luo is, he can't fully attend to all areas. Elder Luo returned to the command room, checking the big screen at the front. It is a defense line map of Juzhou, with electronic sensors installed at every part of the city walls to display the number of desolate beasts attacking the walls. At this moment, the big screen shows densely packed orange and yellow dots. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, purple. Red represents the number of Qi-controlling stage beasts, orange represents Meridian opening stage, and yellow represents God refining stage desolate beasts. On the map, yellow dots continuously appear along the edge, surging toward the boundary, with a yellow dot being eliminated and another appearing. Luckily, each segment of the borderline can still be clearly displayed, at least proving that the borderline hasn't been breached. Why did this beast tide come so abruptly? Elder Luo couldn't help but ponder. The more he thought about it, the more uneasy he felt. Having lived for so many years, he's experienced countless beast tides. While beast tides were common, they typically appeared more intensively on certain segments of the borderline, while other areas were relatively sparse. This allowed for the allocation of martial artists, concentrating the strong ones on specific frontline segments for focused handling. But this time, the beast tide seemed to be commanded, spreading everywhere, attacking uniformly, requiring martial artists on each segment, and making it impossible to dispatch masters to assist if other areas couldn't hold. This is Yi Changfeng, responsible for the Shuzhou frontline. We've detected orifice transforming desolate beasts here. Yi Changfeng's voice sounded in the communication. Where? There are no green dots on the borderline. Elder Luo asked. Shuzhou's 46th segment of frontline, they're not completely close to the borderline, still over 300 kilometers away. My sword array there has been triggered, indicating the 5th wave of beast tide. Yi Changfeng said solemnly. Received. Continue to stay alert. How is the situation on other front lines? My front line is under attack by a strange spatial desolate beast. The formation is heavily damaged, currently undergoing urgent repairs, but manpower is insufficient. Qingzhou's 39th segment needs manpower support. The speaker was Ren Jianghai, the chief commander of Qingzhou Defense Line. His voice was somewhat anxious, with background noise, indicating combat hasn't entirely ended, with considerable commotion. Elder Luo quickly analyzed the Juzhou frontline map on the electronic screen and indeed saw the Qingzhou frontline's formation displaying an unstable alert. Guozhanghong, your Jizhou frontline has relatively elite logistics personnel. Defense won't be an issue. Dispatch people to assist Ren Jianghai. Elder Luo felt assured about the frontline Guo was responsible for, sending part of the personnel to support the Qingzhou frontline, believing it would hold short-term. But Professor Guo didn't immediately respond in the communication. Guozhanghong? Guozhanghong. Professor Guo isn't here. I'm in Shiyu, the deputy commander in Jizhou temporarily in charge. He detected anomalies in the beast tide and went to investigate an issue. And Shiyu responded, having always shadowed Professor Guo. What issue? I'm uncertain, but it's related to desolate beasts. He said to keep an eye on that area before the 5th wave of beast tide arrives to gather information. Due to desolate beasts' abilities disturbing the spatial realm, he's temporarily unreachable. And Shiyu answered, Sun Hushuan, what about the situation in Jingzhou? Can manpower be provided? Elder Luo asked again. But there was no response from Sun Hushuan's side. Instead, Li Zimu's voice came. Minister Sun is out too. I'm Li Zimu, deputy commander in Jingzhou temporarily in charge. He said the beast tide is too peculiar. Must go to the front line to detect the situation for early warning. Currently unreachable. Which front line has temporarily enough manpower to provide support? Elder Luo asked again. Liangzhou here can dispatch manpower to support the Qingzhou front line. My front line is relatively intact. The speaker was Shang Tianxiong, responsible for the Liangzhou front line. Good. Immediately deploy 10 martial artists skilled in defense to support Qingzhou's 39th segment of frontline, Elder Luo ordered. Yes, Shang Tianxiong replied. At this moment, the voice of Fu Mingpu, Minister of Zhuzhou Security Department, appeared in the meeting room. Commander Luo, has the frontline been breached? No, everything is fine on this side of the frontline. Then why was there an unidentified master attack at Beifei Park in Liangzhou West Administrative Region? Fu Mingpu said solemnly. He was responsible for the security of Zhuzhou's inland and for guarding the rear during the beast tide. Just now, upon the emergence of combat at Beifei Park, he hurried over but found the battle concluded when he arrived. Unidentified master? What unidentified master? A heavenly connection realm master clashed and destroyed the park. Even, that power was beyond the heavenly connection realm. Fu Mingpu stated. Immortal realm? How is that possible? All the outstanding leaders from various frontlines participating in the meeting were at least heavenly connection realm. Hearing this, they were all startled because Zhuzhou has yet to see any immortal realm master. Where did Zhuzhou get an immortal realm master? Are you sure there's no mistake? Yu Qixin, responsible for the Yanzhou frontline, spoke coldly. I wouldn't joke about something like this. Fu Mingpu emphasized. The power was formidable, destroying residential buildings, causing chaos. But I couldn't find the source. I'm considering whether there's a problem with the front line letting some powerful desolate beast disguise as a human to sneak in. The front line is without any issues. Apart from damage to the Qingzhou frontline's defense, everything else is intact. Elder Luo responded. Why is only the Qingzhou frontline damaged? Does it have any flaws? Fu Mingpu asked. Because an unseen desolate beast appeared here, creating a defensive gap, but we promptly eliminated it. The formation was damaged, not breached, no flaws. It's definitely not on our Qingzhou side. Ren Zhonghai could hear the implication in Fu Mingpu's words, deliberately raising his voice to emphasize. I'm just investigating the matter. An unidentified heavenly connection realm attack internally. I need to understand the situation, explore all possibilities. All frontlines, only Qingzhou's is weak. I must confirm the source to ensure the safety of Zhuzhou's inland areas. We're fighting on the Zhuzhou frontline. You're responsible for Zhuzhou's inland security. If issues arise, you should question if you derelict rather than doubting our Qingzhou frontline's defense. Ren Zhonghai retorted coldly. Elder Luo intervened. Stop arguing. Fu Mingpu, what about the casualty report? No report on casualties yet, but many are injured, undergoing treatment and relocation. Based on analysis from Su Yongfeng and myself, confirmed that the combat involved a heavenly connection master, no mistake. But I know the rear guard consists of heavenly connection masters I can count. With the remaining martial artists on the front line, this matter is peculiar. Regardless of the situation, attention must be paid. I'll maintain communication. Fu Mingpu said. Understood. Continue investigating. We'll stay alert on our side. Elder Luo replied. The meeting room fell silent. After a moment, Yin Yanqing spoke. Is there truly immortal realm power present? This was everyone's question. All participants were of heavenly connection realm, some even late stage, yet the immortal realm is like an insurmountable chasm for all. If an immortal realm master invaded, how could we possibly fight? Someone voiced. Everyone's hearts sank. Fu Mingpu, as the director of Zhuzhou Security Department, wouldn't speak randomly. Fu Mingpu, also a heavenly connection master, wouldn't mistake power analysis. Elder Luo said, This matter hasn't been thoroughly investigated. Don't overthink. What I can assure is that even if there's immortal realm power, there are definitely limitations. Otherwise, an immortal master alone could sweep Jojo without stealth. So everyone rest assured, protect your front lines. Maintain communication. Meeting adjourned. After the meeting dispersal, many went on to handle frontline matters. Elder Luo sat in the command center, lost in thought. He knew a group operates undercover in Juzhou, responding only to his command, unrestricted by the Alliance, including Helian Zhang and others he deployed inside Juzhou. Could something have happened to them? Elder Luo had to contact Helian Zhang for answers. But just then, a sharp light flashed in his eyes, and he shouted, "Who goes there?" Qian Qingba entered the command center with Xiao Shang and Xiang Qingda. As they appeared, Elder Luo's powerful spiritual power enveloped him. This spiritual power made Qian Qingba's face change slightly, and he hurriedly said, "Please hold. I'm Qian Qingba, under the orders of Human King Xiang Beifei to inform Professor Luo of something." Xiang Beifei. Elder Luo's spiritual power paused slightly, somewhat surprised. "Yes, he specifically asked me to inform Professor Luo that a mole has infiltrated Juzhou, planning to target Professor Luo," Qian Qingba stated bluntly. "You mentioned Xiang Beifei?" Elder Luo completely ignored Qian Qingba's talk about a traitor. He only heard the name Xiang Beifei, that troublesome brat. It's been 10 years. He knew about the situation in Changpan Valley, the dangers of which the kid just glossed over. But he heard Helian Zhang mention it and heard tales from those humans who returned from Changpan Valley, fully understanding the enormous risk involved in the rescue. But now, a stranger suddenly mentioned this kid in front of him, heightening his vigilance. "You better prove your identity." A hint of killing intent appeared in Elder Luo's eyes. He still acted with discretion, no matter how much he cared for that little rascal, always understanding the importance of priorities. Just now, he heard from Fu Mingpu that some powerful masters attacked inland, and this person in front of him was also very formidable. If someone used Xiang Beifei's name to deceive him, it wouldn't be impossible. Yes, the Human King, Xiang Beifei, he asked me to give this exploration stone to you. Qian Qingba immediately handed an exploration stone to Elder Luo. Elder Luo didn't take it, still watching Qian Qingba cautiously. This person in front of him was very powerful. Even if he only revealed heavenly connection later stage strength, he was very formidable, to the extent that even Elder Luo had to take him seriously. Elder Luo knew all the heavenly connection realm experts in Juzhou, but had never seen this guy. An exploration stone proves nothing. These days, anything can be counterfeited, Elder Luo said. But I remember he mentioned, regarding the earlier Changpan Valley incident, he sent Helian Zheng back. Wasn't it by relying on the exploration stone to prove his identity? I don't rely on an exploration stone to trust someone, Elder Luo said. Then how can I prove myself? Qian Qingba asked. That's something you should ask yourself. Sunflower seed. Qian Qingba took out a sunflower seed, which was something Elder Luo provided as a safeguard before Xiang Beifei left Juzhou. Not enough. Elder Luo didn't just give sunflower seeds to Xiang Beifei. He also gave them to Professor Gua and Yi Changfeng, among others. Qian Qingba slapped his forehead. With an odd expression said, "Oh right," he said, "on February 3rd, 3030, you had a conditioned reflex to the ding sound, a total of 45 times. Even he found it unbelievable after saying it." Before leaving, Xiang Beifei specifically instructed him to say this if Elder Luo didn't trust him. He didn't quite understand why Professor Luo would have a conditioned reflex to the ding sound. Would saying this make Professor Luo trust him? But soon, Professor Luo's face turned sour, and he cursed. That little brat has to let everyone know about every trivial thing, doesn't he? Qian Qingba paused for a moment, then said, "So Professor Luo, do you trust me now?" Elder Luo gave Qian Qingba a cold glance, then said, "He didn't tell you about any other trivial matters, did he?" "No, he just said this one thing and said if you didn't trust me to say this, I don't quite know what this sentence implies." Qian Qingba actually wanted to ask about the reason, but seeing Elder Luo's expression suggesting he wanted to beat Xiang Beifei, He wisely refrained from asking. Humph. The best if he didn't say anything else. That brat's going to get skinned when he returns. Elder Luo clenched his fist, his tone full of threat. Actually, this sentence was from his system log. You had a conditioned reflex to the ding sound. Leisure value plus 45. Xiang Beifei learned Elder Luo's spiritual power, resulting in feedback options in Elder Luo's system. On February 3rd, Xiang Beifei kept trying ways to have Elder Luo grasp the spiritual power he had comprehended, persistently using spiritual power to attack Elder Luo, so he could understand its operation method. That evening, Elder Luo endured numerous ding sounds, his mind filled with ding, ding, ding. Later, when he slept one night at Xiang Beifei's place as it was too late, the microwave's ding sound upon Xiang Beifei's grandfather cooking in the morning startled him awake, almost causing him to roll off the bed. It was during that time the leisure system issued this mocking log entry. 45 times meant to say, leisure value plus 45, and Xiang Beifei just did it in a way that didn't expose what Elder Luo's system ability was, also protecting his privacy. Elder Luo Long knew that troublemaking kid Xiang Beifei didn't have a system himself, but could control everyone's systems. This sentence was the best proof that the rascal always saw what his system task was. Qian Qingba said, Professor Luo, this matter is of utmost importance. Someone wants to harm you. He's still alive, right? Elder Luo asked. Alive? He's still alive. About the traitor matter. How is he doing? He's doing well. I was sent by his order to warn Professor Luo about the traitor. Where is he now? He's practicing in a place called Bone Mountain Desert Stone Cave. Because this matter is serious, the Dao Palace sent a traitor. He hasn't lost an arm or leg, right? No. He's very strong. A complete person. This time it was because of the Dao Palace's traitor. He hasn't caused trouble again, has he? No, it wasn't him causing trouble this time. Professor Luo, traitors. 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 Can you let me finish the matter first? Qian Qingba rubbed his forehead. He attempted multiple times to talk about the traitor, but in Elder Luo's eyes, whether Xiang Beifei was safe seemed more important than the traitor. Elder Luo coldly snorted. He wanted me to warn you. Someone intends to kill you, Qian Qingba said. Many people have wanted to kill me, Elder Luo said. This time is different. There's a Dao Palace spy, and the situation is very serious. I can't explain it clearly right now, but you'd better understand it yourself through the Pathfinder Stone. It's faster. Qian Qingba handed the Pathfinder Stone to Elder Luo. Elder Luo took the Pathfinder Stone. It carried his unique spiritual power fluctuations. It wasn't his, but it was identical to his own, something only Xiang Beifei could achieve. He infused his spiritual power into it, and soon the scenery changed before his eyes, transporting him to another place. This was the lakeside of Liangzhou University, where Elder Luo often counted ducks and stars in the small woods. Xiang Beifei sat on a small bench by the lake, waiting for him with a roguish, innocent expression that asked for a beating. Elder Luo looked at the calm and composed young man before him, suddenly feeling like a lifetime had passed. Although it was only a consciousness, Xiang Beifei had shed his former naivety and grown more mature and steady. To see if someone has changed significantly, just look at their eyes. The more experiences they have, the more the years leave marks in their eyes. Xiang Beifei's eyes were clear, but Elder Luo could still sense the traces of hardship. You've suffered a lot, Elder Luo said. Xiang Beifei shook his head slightly, reaching out a finger. At his fingertip, a white light glimmered. That's not the point. I need to quickly tell you the truth about things. These are the relevant memories, which will allow you to grasp the truth in a minute. Wait a moment. I need to do something first. Elder Luo walked towards Xiang Beifei. What is it? Xiang Beifei asked. Elder Luo lifted his leg and kicked. Splash! Xiang Beifei was kicked straight into the lake, causing a large splash. He emerged from the water in disarray, wiping the water from his face, and said irritably, Can you act a bit more mature? You kicked the mischievous kid you've been worrying about for so long. And now there's news. Feeling very content. Leisure value plus 6,666. Elder Luo snorted lightly, although it was just a consciousness left by the boy. Knowing that he was safe after worrying for so many years was a relief. Want to kick again? Xiang Beifei crawled out of the lake and asked helplessly. Have you found your father? Not yet, but I will find him, Xiang Beifei replied. Once you find him, bring him back. You and your father can stand in a line, and I'll kick you both into the water. Elder Luo snorted. All right then. Xiang Beifei laughed. Actually, his consciousness could have dodged, but after thinking about it, he chose not to. He knew Elder Luo had always been worried about him. But the old man was rather stubborn and wouldn't express his feelings straightforwardly, always finding some other way to show it. Only then did Elder Luo accept the related memories. Soon, all of Xiang Beifei's experiences over the years, including various Dao Palace matters and the truth about the human race, poured into his mind. Elder Luo's head felt heavy. It took him 5 minutes to sort out the memories, and his expression became serious. He then exited the vision. When did the Dao Palace send someone to Zhuzhou? Elder Luo asked. Qian Qingba shook his head. I'm not sure about the specifics, but they should have been lurking for a long time, possibly decades. But this person is very well disguised, holds a high status in Zhuzhou, and you probably trust him a lot. Regarding the Beast Tide, when I came from the domain outside to here, I found the situation very serious. This time the Beast Tide is caused by the Dao Palace. They're driving desolate beasts from the wild domain to this side, and the desolate beasts over there are very strong, with even some having heavenly connection realm strength, including those E-tribe people. Qian Qingba said. In Zhuzhou, the domain outside is divided into 5 domains. The cultivated domain, marquee domain, tranquil domain, crucial domain, and the wild domain. Generally, the crucial domain is the limit that the people of Zhuzhou can explore, and places they can't explore are called the wild domain. And precisely in the wild domain, there are various powerful races and many strong desolate beasts. Daoist Qingda built Zhuzhou in this place to keep it away from other dwelling races to protect humanity at that time. E-tribe people? Are they participating in the war as well? Elder Luo hadn't encountered E-tribe people, but Xiang Beifei had recorded these in the memories he left. They have no choice, because the Dao Palace has powerful control abilities, possessing various ancient artifacts to manipulate people's minds. Even if they don't want to participate in the war, they can't help it. Those controlled E-tribe people. Many of them are Heavenly Connection Realm experts. Qian Qingba said. How many Heavenly Connection Realm experts? Have you investigated? I haven't investigated in detail. They are currently on their way here. Because of their fear of Daoist Qingda, they don't dare to launch a full-scale attack directly, only sending some desolate beasts to probe. But things will be different once Qingda gets into trouble. Qian Qingba motioned to the outside, and Elder Luo finally noticed Xiaoshang and Xiang Qingda's presence. He immediately went over to examine Xiang Qingda's injuries, but the heavenly Dao's power was too strong, causing him to become grave. Xiaoshang, what happened? Elder Luo asked. He already knew the true identity of Daoist Qingda, a person who laid the foundation for Zhuzhou and was gravely feared by the Dao Palace. He hadn't expected something to happen. Xiaoshang glanced cautiously at Qian Qingba, then quickly explained what had just happened. Now that they know Wu Feng is in trouble, they'll certainly begin attacking without any restraint. Professor Luo, you're currently the strongest combat force in Zhuzhou. That spy is definitely going to target you first, Qian Qingba said in a deep voice. Do you want me to investigate all the trusted people around me? Elder Luo said, frowning. That would be best, Qian Qingba said. Now is the time of the Beast Tide attack. They are all fighting the Beast Tide, protecting Zhuzhou. It's not easy to investigate, Elder Luo said. Don't you have any suspects in mind? Qian Qingba asked. Elder Luo remembered the people in the meeting just now and then fell silent. The people at the meeting were all highly trusted by him, which is why he assigned them as commanders on various fronts, even trusting Ren Zhanghai, who frequently argued with him with important duties. Is there really a spy among these people? Qian Qingba said solemnly. In any case, for your safety, trust no one, including your old friends, your apprentices, trust no one. Protect Taoist Qingda well. I'll handle this matter, Elder Luo said in a deep voice. But at that moment, the alarm in the command center blared intensely, interrupting their conversation. Commander Luo, Yanzhou's 7th front line is showing desolate beasts in the orifice transforming stage. No, there seems to be. Yu Qishan's voice was the first to come through, sounding incredibly shocked. A heavenly connection realm desolate beast. Elder Luo's expression changed. He quickly turned and ran towards the command center, looking at the Juzhou battlefield on the big screen. Juzhou has a total of 9 front lines, each line segmented into 100 battle segments, clearly marking where desolate beasts appear. At this moment on the Juzhou battlefront map, the colors on each segment of the front lines had changed. Initially, only yellow dots representing God refining stage beasts were marked, but now there were increasingly more green dots. Green dots represent orifice transforming stage desolate beasts. Elder Luo turned his gaze to the Yanzhou front line and indeed saw 3 cyan dots there. Cyan light dots represent desolate beasts with heavenly connection realm strength. But soon he found that not only in Yanzhou, even in Shuzhou, Liangzhou, Qingzhou, and other places had cyan dots appeared. And at this moment, commanders from various states began calling in succession, reporting the battle conditions. They're here, Qian Qingba said, staring at the Juzhou battlefront screen, his expression growing increasingly grave. Elder Luo stared intently at the frontline situation. On almost every state's front line, heavenly connection realm desolate beasts appeared, roughly numbering 2 to 5 cyan dots, with Qingzhou showing the fewest, only 2, while Jizhou and Jingzhou displayed the most cyan dots, reaching 7. Jizhou and Jingzhou, why are there so many heavenly connection realm desolate beasts? Who is commanding these 2 states? Qian Qingba asked. The Juzhou defense line forms a shape similar to a large circle, with each state responsible for the defense of a specific front. According to the distribution of the Juzhou defense lines, starting from Qingzhou and arranged clockwise, the commanders of each defense line are as follows. Qingzhou, Ren Jianghai, Yanzhou Yu Qishan, Shuzhou, Yi Changfeng, Jingzhou, Sun Heshuan, Jizhou, Guozhanghong, Liangzhou, Shang Tianxiong, Yangzhou Yin Yanqing, Yuzhou, Yu Chenghe, Yongzhou Zhaohong. Jizhou and Jingzhou are neighboring defense lines, and the heavenly connection desolate beasts these 2 states face are more numerous than those of other states, totaling up to 14. This means the threat faced by Jizhou and Jingzhou is the greatest. Elder Luo is well aware of who the commanders of Jizhou and Jingzhou are. Guozhanghong and Sun Heshuan. One was the former Alliance Beast Tide Defense Commander, responsible for the defense work of the entire Jizhou defense line, who was sent to Jizhou by Elder Luo during the Beast Tide attack. The other is the Minister of the Alliance Pioneer Department, overseeing all pioneers, and he was assigned to Jingzhou. Qian Qingba walked to the side and examined the Juzhou defense line map, where the persons in charge of each defense line were marked. Guozhanghong and Sun Heshuan. I remember these 2. He mentioned them to me. He quickly turned his head, looked at Elder Luo and said, Aren't they Professor Luo's close friends? Before returning to Juzhou, Xiang Beifei had almost told Qian Qingba everything about the situation around Elder Luo. These 2 are life and death companions to Elder Luo, and also his most relied upon efficient assistants. Qian Qingba asked, Professor Luo, can I access the meeting content? It's merely for investigative purposes. Such wartime meetings are recorded but are also confidential, so Qian Qingba had to ask. Elder Luo glanced at Qian Qingba, already knowing Qian Qingba's identity and strength. This person is an expert in the late stage of immortality, and even though now suppressed to the late stage of heavenly connection, his strength is undeniable. Go ahead. Thank you. Qian Qingba immediately went through the meeting records and quickly saw the related situation. Guozhanghong and Sun Heshuan did not attend the meeting and left the Juzhou front, going alone to the outer wilderness. For a moment, Qian Qingba seemed to understand something. Professor Luo, how do you think the traitor is most likely to act? Qian Qingba did not directly state it, but communicated in an interrogative manner instead. Elder Luo snorted coldly and said, "Speak plainly. Then I won't beat around the bush. Against experts like you, a direct ambush is unrealistic, and one-on-one is nearly unwinnable. The best way is to lure you to a certain place, set up a trap, and then join forces with dozens of heavenly connection experts to encircle and kill you. And to carry out this plan, chaos must first be created. Knowing the defense strength of each Zhuzhou defense line, they will attack the easiest place to infiltrate. Since there's an insider, utilizing the insider's path is certainly the most suitable. Once the defense line is breached, the battlefield will become quite chaotic. At that time there will be no choice but to dispatch reinforcements to block it, possibly attracting you there, so they can set up a trap to surround and kill you. Qian Qingba is a very clear-headed person. He experienced operations with the Dao Palace in the Edge Corner airspace and is very familiar with the style of the Dao Palace. He looked at the defense line map and continued to say, "So you should have a clear idea of who the insider is, Professor Luo. The Human King specially entrusted me to remind you that during battle, you absolutely cannot trust anyone around you, especially those whom you think are least likely to betray you. They might strike you at a critical moment. So should I trust a person like you whom I met for the first time?" Elder Luo retorted. Qian Qingba shook his head. "I am merely delivering the message. Whether you choose to trust me, I won't force it. But no matter what, you are Zhuzhou's most powerful combat force. If you die, Zhuzhou will cease to exist." He paused for a moment and continued. "The Human King mentioned that you have some people whom you can entrust with your life and death. But the Dao Palace is a very terrifying and powerful force. They have various ways to deceive people. Even someone with the abilities of your disciple sometimes gets caught. Those people may not intend to betray you, but are merely manipulated by a more powerful force, so you must discern clearly." Elder Luo did not respond immediately, but instead stared at the Jizhou and Jingzhou defense lines on the map and fell into contemplation. Professor Guo and Sun Hushuan? These two did not attend the meeting, yet left the Zhuzhou front for the outer wilderness, and now the defense line they were responsible for has attracted the most heavenly connection experts. No matter how you look at it, the situation seems off. At this moment, those blue lights were already drawing closer to the Zhuzhou defense line, and alarms were sounding in several places, signaling attacks on the defense lines. "Report, Zhuzhou defense line needs support. 6 more heavenly connection desolate beasts have appeared here. A total of 13. Our guardian formation can't hold. They are acting separately, dispersing my combat strength here. I have already dispatched others to deal with the situation, but 7 have gathered at the second battle segment of Jizhou, and we only have 3 heavenly connection experts available." Professor Guo's urgent voice came through. Meanwhile, Sun Hushuan's voice also sounded. "Level 1 alert at Jingzhou defense line. 20 heavenly connection desolate beasts in total, 9 located at Jingzhou's 98th battle segment. On our side, we only have 2 heavenly connection experts available, in urgent need of support." The 2 front lines almost simultaneously sent out cries for help. Qian Qingba looked at Elder Luo, who was silent for a moment before replying. "Understood. I will immediately send support." The actual number of heavenly connection experts in Zhuzhou is not small, numbering over 100. Apart from a portion left to guard the inland areas, the rest are on the front line. But the Zhuzhou front line is too long. With over 100 experts spread out, each person's section to oversee spans thousands of miles. Moreover, not every expert is at the later stage of heavenly connection. Most are at the early stage. Sometimes, dealing with even one early-stage desolate beast might require 2 or more early-stage experts, so manpower allocation often falls short. Without orders, other front lines cannot leave their posts to support others, as a possible strong desolate beast attack might lead to a breach in their line of defense. Jingzhou and Jizhou are adjacent, with Jingzhou's 98 battle sections and Jizhou's 2nd battle section very close to each other, approximately a few hundred miles apart by the placement of these 16 desolate beasts, a negligible distance for heavenly connection experts. Yi Changfeng from Shuzhou. "How is the situation there?" Elder Luo inquired. Shuzhou, defended by Yi Changfeng, lies next to Jizhou, being the closest front line. Reporting, desolate beasts appeared in Shuzhou's 19th battle section. I'm at the 50th section. Not yet resolved. Yi Changfeng responded. To manage with comprehensive consideration, the general commander of each state usually guards the middle section, specifically the 50th section, making adjustments based on circumstances. Elder Luo, as the commander, was at the junction of Liangzhou and Jizhou. Yin Yanqing from Yangzhou. How about your situation? Elder Luo asked again. Reporting, I've just arrived at the Desolate Beast Point, one at the mid-stage, another at the late-stage Heavenly Connection. I'm dispatching 3 people, preparing for battle, Yin Yanqing responded. Report the situation at any time. Elder Luo surveyed the frontline situation. Currently, Heavenly Connection stage desolate beasts in other states were increasing in number, reaching 6 or 7, with many experts converging to address them. But Jizhou and Jingzhou remained the most populated and in the most crisis. Report from Jizhou. The Heavenly Connection stage desolate beast here is less than a kilometer from the city wall. There's no chance the wall could hold. I need support. Professor Guo's urgent voice rang out again. I'm on my way, Elder Luo responded. Being the commander does not mean he will not engage in battle. Qian Qingba immediately said, Professor Luo, not wise. You may find it unwise, but the safety of Zhuozhou is not child's play. Elder Luo immediately left the command room. Qian Qingba had no choice but to follow. He couldn't truly stop Elder Luo. In this situation, ensuring Zhuozhou's safety is the priority. Even if there's danger, Elder Luo couldn't just watch the Zhuozhou defenses fall. Qian Qingba's task was to protect Elder Luo's safety. This is for concealing yourself. Take care of Daoist Qingda. Qian Qingba handed Xiang Beifei's item to Xiao Shang as he passed beside Daoist Qingda. Xiao Shang looked at the crack that appeared on his system interface and asked, I have a question, and I need you to answer it. What question? There's a crack on my system interface, but I felt an aura, its immortal realm power. If I expand this crack, can I use it? Xiao Shang questioned. How did a crack appear on your system? Qian Qingba asked, surprised. That power, it damaged the elder's strength. I came into contact with it, Xiao Shang said. Qian Qingba was silent for a moment, then said, That's the power of the heavenly Tao. Unless absolutely necessary, don't use it. Once you expand the crack and wield that power, you'll be obliterated by the great desolate realm's heavenly Tao power. All my yin-yang primal energy is used to protect Daoist Qingda. I understand. No one can harm the elder. Xiao Shang wasn't concerned about the beast tide anymore, as he clearly understood his responsibility. Qian Qingba initially intended to protect personally, but now he couldn't keep Daoist Qingda close, so he handed over a pile of high-grade powerful spiritual power crystals given by Xiang Beifei to Xiao Shang before leaving quickly. Boom! The distant sky seemed as though swallowed by a black mist, appearing forested and oppressive. In the rolling clouds, flashes of lightning as thick as pillars continuously crackled, striking down towards a person below. The lightning seemed to tear the sky apart, mixed with a fierce momentum. As it struck down towards a solitary figure, the figure stood steadfast and tall, just like a calm mountain. It was undoubtedly Professor Guo. As the lightning from the sky struck, Professor Guo didn't dodge. Instead, he calmly watched these terrifying bolts before his body emitted waves of brown light. Buzz! The light rippled out like waves, spinning around him. However, each circle spun in different directions, appearing chaotic, yet amidst this chaos, there was a sense of order. Crunch! The lightning struck him. The rotating spiritual power waves rapidly circulated, absorbing all the lightning, forming a concentric electric field around Professor Guo. At this moment, from the ground where Professor Guo stood, a massive claw emerged from the soil, as black as ink, like black iron, several hundred meters long, with 6 sharp claws aiming to crush Professor Guo. Yet Professor Guo let out a low shout, and the lightning from his body swept out instantly towards those descending claws. Boom! 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 The claws were immediately engulfed by the lightning, which seemed guided into a more formidable attack, shattering the black iron claws. Counterattack. Professor Gua's most powerful cultivation technique. His counterattack could absorb others' attacks, channeling them through his spiritual power to strengthen and redirect outward. When the lightning burst the claw, the overwhelming ray of lightning pierced into the ground, followed by a sharp wail. The earth split open with cracks each about 10 meters wide, as a desolate beast several hundred meters tall crawled out of them. This desolate beast appeared slick, lacking robust, solid muscles. Instead, its segmented body resembled that of a bamboo bug, but every segment was enormous, providing a substantial oppressive force despite the lack of muscle. There's no record of this desolate beast in JoJo's archives, for it normally wouldn't appear here. Meanwhile, from the sky's dense clouds, a huge blue head emerged, the head alone spanning dozens of meters. It was a giant bird covered entirely in spines, with feathers glowing with lightning. Its long beak, eerily splitting into 4 sections during roars, each section lined with rows of several meters long sharp teeth. Carer, carer. The massive thunderbird in the sky roared again, lightning bursting towards Professor Gua. Concurrently, the enormous bamboo bug attacked Professor Gua. Meanwhile, magma spewed from the left ground crack, forming a long snake shape, also attacking Professor Gua. 3 late-stage Heavenly Connection desolate beasts. Professor Gua's expression became increasingly grim, but he knew well he faced not only 3 late-stage Heavenly Connection desolate beasts, but also another hidden beast lurking in the air, waiting to strike. Boom! 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 Magma and lightning converged, rushing towards Professor Gua, while the claws sparkled brightly, enclosing Professor Gua airtight. Professor Gua immediately absorbed the magma and lightning, redirecting them back towards the bamboo bug. But this time, when the lightning and magma hit the bamboo bug, it merely crackled and popped, remarkably bouncing back the lightning. Lightning was no longer effective. At this time, a sudden urgent sound came from the air, slamming into Professor Gua, sending him flying backward. I'll attempt to have a rough layout of the JoJo frontline in the Easter egg chapter. Make do while watching. This is an invisible and powerful desolate beast, with strength that is incredibly formidable. Professor Gua couldn't even see where the opponent was and was directly blasted away. Professor Gua is now a master in the late stages of Heavenly Connection, but facing a few strong desolate beasts teaming up, even he suffered a hidden loss. He was blasted to the ground, creating a large pit. Professor Gua and Shiyu was fiercely battling with another desolate beast in the early stages of Heavenly Connection. When she saw Professor Gua being blasted away, she anxiously shouted and immediately threw out a blue flute. The flute started playing music automatically in the air. A murderous red flute sound broke out, sweeping towards the group of desolate beasts. She had awakened the SR-level Myriad Music voice system, and for the past 10 years, she had relied on the methods summarized by Xiang Beifei to raise her cultivation to the early stages of Heavenly Connection. For her, every sound was a murderous intent. However, those flute sounds were instantly scattered. The 4 most powerful late-stage Heavenly Connection desolate beasts, with tough skin and thick hides, did not fear Shiyu's flute attack at all. They leaped past Professor Gua and continued flying towards the JoJo defense line. Without Professor Gua's obstruction, all 4 desolate beasts charged onto JoJo City's walls, making the sky seem as if it turned black. Dark clouds pressed towards JoJo City's walls. Boom! 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 Massive lightning bolts smashed towards JoJo City's walls. The lightning was terrifying. Even though JoJo City's walls had very strong defenses, they kept shaking from the impact, and many of the fabrics of the formations were starting to crack. They're here. Many defenders and martial artists on the city walls panicked when they saw these enormous creatures attacking. This was the most terrifying desolate beast attack they had experienced. The beast's power surpassed their imagination. Even Professor Gua was unable to stop them, let alone themselves. Hold the line. Live and die with JoJo. But none of these martial artists retreated. They shouted, continually pouring their spiritual power into the formations on the walls, reinforcing them. No matter how small their individual strength was, The combined power of thousands of martial artists was incredibly formidable. The curtain that lit up on Jojo City's walls resembled a golden fortress, resisting the terrifying suppression of lightning from the sky. On the city walls were various counterattack formations set by Professor Gua. Professor Gua applied his understanding of counterattacks to the city's wall defenses, relying on formations to gather the lightning that thundered from the sky, then sending it back. But at this moment, the ground also burst open with cracks, as if it were torn apart. This immense tearing force continued spreading towards Jojo City's walls. Then, from those cracks, scorching magma erupted, the temperature extremely high, making it seem as though the air was warping. The walls covered with various strong spiritual power were ignited like fuel when touched by the magma. At the same time, two terrifying howls sounded in the air, blasting at the same point on the walls. Their target seemed clear. Focus all attacks on one point. Crack. No matter how sturdy the walls were, they couldn't withstand the attack of the four late-stage Heavenly Connection beasts. The wall's formations couldn't bear such a terrifying attack and exploded. Violent magma quickly engulfed the martial artists on the walls who hadn't managed to escape, most of whom were in the meridian opening or god-refining stages and couldn't withstand such a powerful attack, instantly swallowed by the scalding magma. No! Professor Gua scrambled up from the ground, watching the wall break, furious and shocked. He immediately rushed over, wanting to stop those four beasts, but from a distance came another terrifying roar. Turning his head, he saw several more powerful late-stage Heavenly Connection creatures charging over, entangling him. And those four beasts have already breached the defenses of Jojo, charging inland, leaving no one to stop the four terrifying beasts now that Professor Gua was gone. Boom! 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 The magma shot out from the cracks in the ground, igniting everything in its path. Where the magma went, raging fire followed. Many martial artists were conjuring powerful frost and streams of water, all aimed at these magma flows. The surging streams seemed endless yet evaporated before completely meeting the magma. Behind Jojo City's walls were all kinds of traps set up in buffer zones. However, in the face of absolute power, these traps had no resistance whatsoever. Even the spatial formations were crushed. For a moment, chaos reigned on the walls, and no one could withstand such terrifying attacks. The lightning wreaked havoc at the breach points, extremely menacing. Swish! 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 The massive bamboo worm swung its long arms horizontally, slashing toward the martial artists on the walls still struggling in defense. Those long arms were like 100-meter-long knives, unstoppable amidst their howls. The martial artists atop the wall had fallen into despair, seeing their fate looming ahead with only a profound feeling of powerlessness in their hearts. Just as the unstoppable bamboo worm beast was about to slice these weak martial artists apart, an angry roar resounded. Unforgivable! A lean figure appeared in front of the bamboo worm, throwing a punch forward. This punch was straightforward, but, upon hitting the bamboo worm's long arm, waves erupted from the force, rolling up along the bamboo worm's long arm. Crack! 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 The bamboo insect's originally indestructible long arms cracked like porcelain, and this terrifying crack not only shattered its long arms but also shattered its entire body. Bang! The bamboo insect, hundreds of meters tall, directly collapsed to pieces under the astonished gazes of everyone, crashing down with fragments flying, landing on the ground. One punch. Just one punch. The later stage Heavenly Connection bamboo insect was instantly killed. It's Commander Luo. Commander Luo is here. We're saved. The martial artists trapped in despair exclaimed, their voices filled with respect as they gazed at the elderly yet resolute figure in the sky, whose appearance felt like a hand had pulled them back from the brink of a hellish abyss. Elder Luo's expression was filled with rage as he turned his head, looking once more at the magma on the ground, which was about to melt the earth, and the walls were already scorched. He took a step forward and instantly appeared above the crack. The magma in the fissure was still bubbling with scorching flames, with temperatures reaching thousands of degrees. It was terrifying, yet Elder Luo simply unassumingly punched towards the magma. Boom! All the magma was shattered under this punch. Even though magma is fluid, Elder Luo's punch was too terrifying, annihilating everything, even evaporating the magma into void. His punch hit the crack, and the fire snake hidden beneath the ground didn't even have time to raise its head before being shattered by Elder Luo's punch. Whoosh! 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 The invisible desolate beast in the air attempted to launch a surprise attack, but Elder Luo turned around to punch again. Bam! 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 The invisible desolate beast in the air exploded. Only terrifying ripples were transmitted, yet no physical body could be seen. Even in death, nobody could discern its form. And the dark clouds in the sky, resembling a black hole, kept striking the walls below with lightning. Elder Luo punched towards the sky again. This punch was terrifying. Though it seemed shapeless, it carried an unstoppable force, sweeping into the dark clouds. The clouds instantly burst open with a gap, which expanded rapidly and then, with a boom, exploded completely. The Jizhou frontline was once again bathed in sunlight, dispelling the oppressive gloom in everyone's hearts. This is too powerful. Everyone was stunned watching Elder Luo in action. One punch per late-stage heavenly connection monster. These martial artists all knew of Luo Yunxian's strength. But Elder Luo had not participated in battle for many years, at least over 20. For over 2 decades, Juzhou had not suffered significant beast attacks. So many had only heard of Luo Yunxian's strength, without truly understanding its extent. Some young and arrogant SSR and UR martial artists were not convinced that an SR-level awakener could be a leader at all. In their view, the position of leader should at least be held by an SSR awakener. The Alliance had no shortage of SSR and UR-level heavenly connection experts, so how could an SR-level 1 surpass them all? But now Elder Luo's 4 punches had subdued all surviving martial artists present. There were other UR and SSR senior experts fighting desolate beasts, yet those beasts were not as powerful as these 4. Not worthy of being Zhuzhou's top individual. Qian Qingba, witnessing Elder Luo's punches, was also impressed. Even though his actual realm was higher than Elder Luo, within the Great Desolate Realm, limited by the later stages of heavenly connection, he doubted he could withstand such a punch. Few could withstand it. Even ancestral Dao experts might struggle. He couldn't help but think of Xiang Beifei. The master-disciple pair were truly cut from the same cloth, both having extraordinary power, impossible to gauge by conventional standards. But now was not the time for praise. Qian Qingba had already turned to attack other heavenly connection desolate beasts. There were just too many, seemingly intentionally gathering on the front line guarded by Professor Gua, with most being quite formidable. Whoosh! He drew his sword, swung it skyward, and a massive sword light surged up, slashing towards a gigantic rhino-sized desolate beast. Its skin was incredibly tough, and as the sword light struck, its horn glowed with fiery red light, meeting the attack head-on. Boom! The 2 beams clashed in midair like rainbows. Yet Qian Qingba's power prevailed, slicing the massive rhino in half. His gaze fell further away, where Professor Gua was in trouble again, besieged by several powerful late-stage heavenly connection desolate beasts. Yet strangely, those beasts seemed only to knock him down before ignoring him to rush towards Zhuzhou's walls. Qian Qingba frowned deeply. Head to Jingzhou. Assist Sun Heshuan. It's not far, hurry. Elder Luo had already rushed over, killing another desolate beast, and shouted to Qian Qingba. But my mission is... Do I need your protection? Right before Qian Qingba, Elder Luo punched another late-stage heavenly connection bird beast apart. Qian Qingba indeed had no words. He knew he couldn't find a weakness in Elder Luo, who was formidable and invincible as long as his spiritual power lasted. However, he did whisper to Luo, so only he could hear. Professor Luo, I know your power is immense, but often, the human heart is scarier than any punch. The situation here is strange. Earlier, the 4 beasts that breached the walls didn't attack Gua Zhenghong fatally, only knocking him away. That's because old Gua's defenses are strong. They can't break them. These desolate beasts are as intelligent as us now. They realize it takes too much effort to kill him. Better to breach the walls first. Go to Jingzhou. Hurry, or more will die there. Elder Luo instructed sternly. I will not leave, Qian Qingba responded firmly. Are you looking to die? Disobeying orders on the battlefield. Elder Luo, fuming, smashed another desolate beast in rage. Qian Qingba continued battling beasts, replying, I was ordered by Xiang Beifei to never leave your side even for a step. Preposterous. As long as you are in Zhuzhou, you follow my orders. If you don't assist there, more will die in Jingzhou. Many dying versus all dying. I know which weighs heavier. Qian Qingba remained unmoved. As a human king's loyal follower, he understood life and death well. For such followers, the human king's life was above all. In the grand revival of the human race, they lived to die for the human king when needed. Xiang Beifei was the human king's leader, and clearly, Elder Luo was Zhuzhou's human king. If Elder Luo were to face danger alone due to his departure and be assassinated by Dao Palace's traitors, Zhuzhou would be doomed. Even saving others would be pointless then. Thus, he would rather see others in Zhuzhou killed than let Elder Luo, overly trusting of those surrounding him, fall into trouble. Elder Luo glared in frustration at the disobedient Qian Qingba. But over by the walls, Heavenly Connection desolate beasts had once again forced Professor Gua back. Rushing over, he pulled the besieged Professor Gua out. Old Gua, are you all right? Elder Luo asked. I can still hold on. Professor Gua's face was extremely pale, like a sheet of paper. Though his defense was strong, relentlessly being assaulted by countless powerful late-stage Heavenly Connection desolate beasts had clearly taken a toll. He excelled at defense, not offense. Enduring constant hits wasn't enjoyable. Luckily, he hadn't sustained fatal injuries, only exhausting massive spiritual power, unable to recover immediately. Yet Qian Qingba's eyes remained firmly fixed on Professor Gua, as he couldn't determine if Gua was Zhuzhou's traitor or not. But he sensed something amiss, as the desolate beasts continually spared Gua. Professor Gua looked extremely weary. Elder Luo was supporting him, the two were very close, but Qian Qingba stepped forward and helped to hold Professor Gua, then said to Elder Luo, I'll take care of Professor Gua. Deal with those desolate beasts first. He still harbored suspicions about Professor Gua in his heart, but could not be completely sure, so he stayed close to Professor Gua in case he made a sudden move. Keep an eye on him. I'll deal with these things and talk later. Elder Luo wasted no time, directly charged out, and aimed a kick at a gigantic tiger exuding cold air rushing towards him. Bam! The tiger, at the middle Heavenly Connection stage, was struck on the forehead, immediately creating a massive cavity, with half its bloody head still visibly twitching. Boom! The enormous body of the tiger collapsed with a crash. Elder Luo had awakened the SR-level leisure system, and the most unique aspect of this system was the ability to freely redistribute points. The system values he usually obtained could be converted into various abilities, though compared to other systems, there were fewer options available. System values from other systems could be used to exchange for various powerful system items that could protect oneself at critical moments, or control others, serving a wide range of magical functions. Whereas Elder Luo's system values were purely combat power, he couldn't casually exchange for overly expensive system items, as doing so would deplete most of his combat strength. But this peculiar trait of the system allowed him to lump all system values into power, delivering a punch to shatter everything. In the face of absolute power, those desolate beasts, whether possessing space-folding abilities, spit fire, freeze, corrode, or possess ultra-strong defenses that ignore physical attacks, were all ineffective, because, even with a single punch, Elder Luo delivered a double strike in power and spiritual strength. Even some desolate beasts that could ignore physical attacks would be crushed to bits by the potent spiritual force carried with his fist. One punch to break all laws. This was why Elder Luo alarmed the people of Dao Palace. In the great desolate realm, Dao Palace experts, no matter how rich their combat experience, almost always couldn't win in solo fights against him. So the Dao Palace spies would disguise themselves as trusted people around Elder Luo, waiting for the chance to assassinate. Qian Qingba was also guarding against this aspect of Dao Palace. Elder Luo killed 2 more early Heavenly Connection Stage monsters, relieving in Shiyu, but just then, all the desolate beasts in the Heavenly Connection Stage suddenly roared, then without a word, turned and ran. None lingered in the fight, as if organized and disciplined. Upon seeing Elder Luo appear, as if receiving some signal, they retreated together. This scene also stunned the people on the Jojo City wall. What's going on? They actually ran. Perhaps they were frightened by Commander Luo? Heavenly Connection Stage desolate beasts have high intelligence. They know very well they're no match for Elder Luo here and were frightened off. Long live Commander Luo! Many martial artists began to cheer. Just then, when those terrifying desolate beasts were pressing in, what they brought was deep despair. Originally, they thought they might coexist or perish with the Jojo City wall this time, but unexpectedly, these powerful desolate beasts were scared off by Elder Luo. Everyone looked at Elder Luo with even more respect, as these people were witnessing Elder Luo's actions for the first time. Understanding why Elder Luo was qualified to lead the entire Jojo with SR-level abilities. This was their true hero. Qian Qingba obviously did not expect these desolate beasts to suddenly retreat. He initially thought the beasts would at least unite to attack Elder Luo, relying on numerical superiority to win, but the situation was clearly not as expected. They had no such plan. Elder Luo also didn't pursue, since these desolate beasts ran quickly, and even if he could catch up, it wasn't necessary, as he knew very well the situation here. The Jijo border wall had already been destroyed for a large section, and if he pursued deeply, the desolate beasts might sneak back from other places. Professor Gua turned around and looked towards the Jojo City wall, where the wall had been blasted with a nearly 1,000-meter hole, visible cracks in the ground, and even large pits left by Elder Luo's strikes. Still couldn't hold it. Professor Gua sighed. He was struggling to resist over a dozen desolate beasts of the same realm by himself and didn't expect the beasts to break through the city wall defenses. This gap of over 1,000 meters in the defense line meant that at least thousands of martial artists lost their lives in this assault. It's not the time for sorrow. We have to rebuild the defense line, Elder Luo said solemnly. I understand. Professor Gua nodded. Elder Luo first brought Professor Gua back to the city wall, found the command room here, and checked the Jojo frontline map, with real-time status of battle lines available in command rooms everywhere to help allocate personnel. At this moment in Jojo, aside from the desolate beasts retreating here, the desolate beasts in other places were still attacking. In several places, beasts had been killed through everyone's joint efforts, but many other beasts had been repelled too. For example, the green points on the front line at Liangzhou, Shuzhou, and Yangzhou had disappeared, temporarily lifting the danger, but the number of green points at Jingzhou was increasing, and these green points were moving, transferring from Jizhou to Jingzhou. Bad. These beasts that just retreated are shifting positions, seeming to swarm towards Jingzhou, Professor Gua exclaimed. I have to go help Sun Hushuan. Otherwise, something will definitely go wrong there, Elder Luo said. Professor Gua said, I also need to go. The battlefront here is not far from Sun Hushuan's location. Let's hurry over. On the other side, Qian Qingba immediately said cautiously, No, you have to stay here. There's already a breach here, and Shiyu and Qin Shiran will take care of repairing the city walls. They still have combat strength. Let's move quickly. His side of the battlefront is not far from here, and if we rush, we can make it in 5 minutes. Otherwise, the walls on his side will also fall, Professor Gua said in a deep voice. Qin Shiran is a UR-level martial artist and also a powerful elder in the Alliance, with mid-stage Heavenly Connection strength. He got a little injured just now while fighting 2 desolate beasts, but it's not a big deal. Within Shiyu, they still have some combat strength. If more desolate beasts attack, they have the ability to hold them off temporarily. Elder Luo didn't object, as the battlefront at Jingzhou was showing signs of being much more severe than here. Coupled with the desolate beasts here, there were probably over 40 Heavenly Connection phase desolate beasts, making the situation very dire and needing manpower. They immediately rushed in the direction of Jingzhou, with Qian Qingba naturally following, keeping a close watch on Professor Gua, and sticking close to Elder Luo while maintaining a specific distance from Professor Gua. ready to react if the latter made any sudden moves. However, Elder Luo was too fast. He couldn't wait for the two of them and allocated all his leisure value to his flight speed, leaving Qian Qingba and Professor Guo behind in an instant, disappearing from view. Qian Qingba wanted to chase after him, only to find that he couldn't catch up at all. His speed was only slightly faster than Professor Guo's. However, this allowed him to breathe a sigh of relief, as with Elder Luo moving so fast, he didn't need to worry about being attacked by Professor Guo. While on the way, Professor Guo glanced at Qian Qingba, who was flying ahead of him, seemingly puzzled because he didn't know this sudden newcomer. In the Alliance, he held a very high position. All Heavenly Connection Realm martial artists knew him, but he had never seen this person before. Yet seeing this person always with Elder Luo, and as Elder Luo said nothing, he too didn't ask. Now was not the time for inquiries. The city walls of Jingzhou had already been blasted open, on the brink of collapse. Sun Hushuan's expression was growing paler. There were too many Heavenly Connection Realm desolate beasts here. He had just killed one early-stage Heavenly Connection desolate beast, but there were still 5 late-stage Heavenly Connection desolate beasts surrounding him. He is a very powerful martial artist with cultivation at the late-stage Heavenly Connection, serving as the Minister of the Pioneering Department, with unquestionable strength. Yet facing an onslaught from 5 desolate beasts of the same rank and realm was making him extremely strained. At this moment, he was being beaten back step by step, completely on the defensive. Nearby, 6 other Heavenly Connection Realm martial artists were also entangled with other relatively weaker desolate beasts, but they too hadn't gained much advantage. This was despite Sun Hushuan having drawn the 5 strongest desolate beasts to himself. Sun Hushuan had an SSR level as far as possible system. As long as he could accomplish tasks through his strength, such as eating, walking, or killing desolate beasts with his power, he could grow stronger. It's not hard to do tasks with high-level systems. Facing 5 late-stage Heavenly Connection desolate beasts, his system had given him a new system task. Kill 5 late-stage Heavenly Connection desolate beasts by your strength. System value plus 50 million. But this task seemed almost impossible for him because he had no way to handle 5 late-stage Heavenly Connection desolate beasts alone. Especially one had diamond-hard skin, like a cumbersome turtle over tens of meters long, with terrifying defense. Its shell extended sharp diamond blades instead of legs. These blades were not only hard but also very sharp. Sun Hushuan's attacks on its body were like scratching an itch, only to be sent flying himself. Sun Hushuan forced himself to get up, leaping into the air to evade a giant iron hoof, when suddenly he sensed something, turning to look to the left. In the thick fog on the left, more terrifying auras were faintly emanating, with countless roaring, booming noises, and earth-shattering sounds ringing constantly. He immediately leaped into the air, kicked aside a flying fiery hawk, and then saw a more terrifying sight. More than 20 powerful desolate beasts were rushing over, all of which were not weak, and more than half were late-stage Heavenly Connection. The other Heavenly Connection Realm martial artists who were outside fighting the desolate beasts were also stunned. No matter how strong they were terrified and paralyzed by fear at the sudden increase in the desolate beast numbers, their hearts sinking to the bottom. Earlier, just a dozen Heavenly Connection phase desolate beasts had already cost many martial artists their lives in the beast tide, and now another 40 desolate beasts appeared, almost all powerful Heavenly Connection Realm beasts, exerting tremendous oppressive terror, causing a momentary lapse in the breath of Jingzhou's defenders. Boom! The armored beast had reached the breach and stormed into Jingzhou's walls, its sharp blade spinning, destructively tearing through, and several martial artists who hadn't yet escaped were swept in, turning into a bloody mist. Other desolate beasts also roared, heading toward Jingzhou. But just then, bang! The shining diamond armored beast was suddenly kicked out by someone, tumbling through the air like a ragged sandbag, crashing on the approaching beast horde, smashing them away. Courting death. Elder Luo had already arrived, extremely furious, turning into a stream of light at an incredible speed. By the time the diamond-armored beast got up, Elder Luo was behind it, grabbing its back and giving it a hard pull, Crack. The tough armored beast was torn in half as if it was made of paper. Luo! Sun Hushuin exclaimed excitedly upon seeing Elder Luo, as if he had seen a savior. Protect yourself! Elder Luo shouted, already rushing into the Heavenly Connection beast horde, like a wolf into a flock of sheep, beginning a wild slaughter. Boom! 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 Bam! 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 In an instant, blood and flesh splattered, severed limbs scattered, carcasses littering the ground. Those desolate beasts that struck terror in all martial artists were no match for Elder Luo's punch and kick. Elder Luo was truly fierce. Those massive, ferocious Heavenly Connection realm desolate beasts seemed like lambs in his eyes, and he was a vicious wolf. The terrifying slaughter also shocked these Heavenly Connection realm desolate beasts. But just as he killed a few, from the depths of the great desolate realm came a sharp cry, and all the desolate beasts, upon hearing it, suddenly turned tail without hesitation. It was as if they had received a command to flee to the outer wilderness, unwilling to confront Elder Luo. Elder Luo caught up and slaughtered 2 of the slower ones, but the remaining desolate beasts ran far away. Professor Luo, don't chase after them. There might be an ambush. Qian Qingba finally arrived, shouting immediately. Elder Luo frowned. Initially wanting to pursue, he hesitated and then stopped. Luo, it's good you arrived in time. Sun Hushuin gave a bitter smile, unsteady and collapsing to the ground. Are you all right? Elder Luo walked towards Sun Hushuin. I'm fine. I managed to keep my life. Sun Hushuin took out a bottle of medicine, pouring it on his wounds, which sizzled and emitted white smoke. Elder Luo walked to Sun Hushuin's side and helped him up. Are you okay? Professor Guo's voice also resounded. Though he arrived late, the battle had already ended. Qian Qingba discreetly moved a step closer to Elder Luo, watching Sun Hushuin and Professor Guo, his gaze cautiously shifting between them. These two had each faced a siege of over a dozen late-stage Heavenly Connection desolate beasts yet survived. The high-intelligence Heavenly Connection realm desolate beasts hadn't even thought to join forces to eliminate the two, intentionally avoiding their vital points. Sun Hushuin glanced at Professor Guo and asked, I'm fine. How are things on your end? I also faced a severe attack. Luckily Elder Luo arrived, Professor Guo replied. I don't know why, but there are suddenly so many desolate beasts, and now they've suddenly retreated, Sun Hushuin noted. We must check the situation on other fronts. Elder Luo immediately ran towards the command room on the Jingzhou side. He needed to ascertain the movements of these desolate beasts. However, this large group of Heavenly Connection-level desolate beasts had disappeared from the map, leaving only a few scattered ones at other fronts. But it seemed that the pressure was not as significant as it was here, and the beasts over there appeared to have been repelled, so there was no need for Elder Luo to make another trip. The beast tide has retreated. Sun Hushuin looked extremely fatigued, but still sighed in relief. Not necessarily, Elder Luo said. The monitoring range of Zhuzhou's boundary for desolate beasts is limited. If too far away, they disappear from the map, but this does not mean these Heavenly Connection-level beasts have retreated because they might attack again when they let down their guard. Let's first restructure the wall's defense facilities, Elder Luo commanded. Building city walls is not particularly challenging, as many of the border guardians who have awakened are martial artists with construction-related abilities. They can build various strongholds or create different terrains to block the beast tide. Rebuilding the walls is simpler, but the focus is on the formation magic on these walls. The formations are critical and must connect with other formations on the walls to offer protection. Professor Guo, things are fine here. You should return, Qian Qingba suggested. Yes, I must return. Professor Guo nodded but stopped halfway and asked, By the way, might I ask who your excellency is? Why have I never seen you before? He's an unrestrained, Elder Luo simply stated. Unrestrained. Professor Guo and Sun Hushuin both furrowed their brows. They were familiar with the organization always opposing the alliance. The two of them scrutinized Qian Qingba seriously, revealing thoughtful expressions. Unrestrained has been subdued by Xiang Beifei. I've mentioned it to you, Elder Luo said. Professor Gua glanced at Qian Qingba again, then spoke. No matter the past, standing up at Zhouzhou's moment of crisis is commendable. For the safety of the human race, grudges should be put aside temporarily. Professor Gua's words are very true, Qian Qingba agreed. I won't delay further. I'm off. I'll report any updates immediately, Professor Gua said without pausing further and left the command room. Sun Hushuan had already tended to his injuries. For a master at his level, recovering external wounds isn't difficult, but his spiritual power has been greatly depleted, and he went to rest for a while. Is the casualty report ready? Elder Luo asked. Soon, a man said in a heavy tone. Report to the commander Jingzhou this time. 1,600 martial artists perished. 1,600. Heavenly connection level desolate beasts merely breached an opening in Zhouzhou's city walls and killed 1,600 martial artists. The martial artists who could take to the battlefield had the lowest cultivation level of late-stage chi controlling, most at the meridian opening stage. These are living human lives, some even having just graduated from university, becoming martial artists. To protect Zhouzhou, they resolutely stood on the walls without retreat. Elder Luo lightly clenched his fists. This is the brutality of battle. With every large-scale beast tide, the losses are immense. But this time's beast tide was unprecedentedly powerful and purposeful. Moreover, the foes merely charged once and retreated, with no lingering in battle. But just that single charge wiped out thousands. Elder Luo felt discomfort in his heart. Yet he didn't have time for sentimentality, as the battle was far from over. Only Elder Luo and Qian Qingba remained in the command room. For Zhouzhou's commander, any place could serve as his office. Qian Qingba casually laid down a spiritual power barrier around them to isolate their voices, and then said, Has Professor Luo not discovered any suspicious points? Professor Luo was focused on the map's battle situations, not lifting his head. Just say what you want. Traitors. Dao Palace's traitors. I know you're suspecting Gua and Sun of being the two, just because they weren't gravely injured in such a fierce beast tide? Elder Luo understood well what Qian Qingba was going to say. I admit their strength isn't weak, but after being knocked down by dozens of heavenly connection-level desolate beasts, how come none finished them off? It's just not reasonable. Heavenly connection-level desolate beasts are highly intelligent. If attacking Zhouzhou, they surely should kill the most powerful person first. Elder Luo did not respond, just remained silent. Qian Qingba continued, I know it might be hard for Professor Luo to accept that his old friends are Dao Palace's traitors, but Dao Palace in Edge Corner airspace is a formidable force with heavenly Dao methods unimaginable by the professor. The traitor has been lurking in Zhouzhou for a long time. They can control others. Elder Luo still did not speak, but his expression looked uneasy. Qian Qingba did not press further. This was merely a guess. He had no definitive evidence but had at least warned Elder Luo. He knew Elder Luo needed time to come to terms with it. No one would easily accept that their lifelong trusted friends were ready to assassinate them, especially when these two were life-and-death companions with Elder Luo. Silence lingered for nearly half an hour. Elder Luo did not speak, and Qian Qingba stood quietly beside him. His task was simple: protect Zhouzhou's strongest force. At Elder Luo's command, he could kill anyone who posed a threat to Elder Luo's safety. But at this moment, the command center suddenly sounded an alarm. Upon closer inspection, countless cyan light dots reappeared on the map, with their target being Qingzhou. These desolate beasts have set their sights on Qingzhou, Qian Qingba said. At the same time, another support request came from Qingzhou. The speaker was Ren Jianghai. Qingzhou's 27th Battle Section needs support. There are too many powerful desolate beasts here, and we are severely understaffed. Ren Jianghai's voice sounded extremely anxious. Such a sudden attack by so many desolate beasts was extremely rare and impossible to withstand. Yu Qixin, there are no desolate beasts near you for now and you're close to Qingzhou. Leave specific staff to guard and go support them, Elder Luo immediately ordered. Received. Yu Qixin's voice came through. Yi Changfeng, Try to move towards Yenzhou. Elder Luo deployed again. Understood. Yi Changfeng also responded. Yi Changfeng and Yu Qixin were both SR-level awakeners, receiving extra care from Xiang Beifei. Over the years, their strength had advanced by leaps and bounds, reaching mid-heavenly connection. They had considerable strength. After deploying personnel, Elder Luo wasted no time and immediately rushed to Qingzhou. The location of Qingzhou was quite far from here, almost across half of Juzhou's border. So, he relied on the teleportation array set up in the interior to rush to Qingzhou. These arrays greatly reduced travel time. However, the teleportation distances were generally short, as the longer the distance, the more spiritual power the array consumed. There was basically no direct array, and transit was required. The transit process required travel on foot. Elder Luo had already allocated all leisure value to speed, yet it still took him 20 minutes to reach Qingzhou. By that time, a breach had already been made in Qingzhou. Without hesitation, Elder Luo charged straight in. But strangely, just as he was about to unleash his fury, a sharp sound emerged from the depths of the outer desolate realm. Upon hearing the sound, the desolate beasts turned and fled again. Moreover, the retreat speed was even faster this time. Elder Luo only managed to kill one beast in the early heavenly connection stage, while the rest fled over dozens of miles away. Desolate beasts in the heavenly connection stage were strong and fast, and remarkably well organized and disciplined, fleeing at the mere sound. "Damn it!" Elder Luo exclaimed angrily. "Commander Luo, quickly help Commander Rin. He just took on 8 late heavenly connection stage desolate beasts to protect the city wall and got severely wounded." Yu Qixin had come to support Qingzhou. Being closer from Yenzhou, he arrived earlier than Elder Luo. Elder Luo immediately went to check on Rin Zhonghai, whose body was half gone, torn by the desolate beasts, leaving his flesh mangled and spirit greatly damaged, rendering him unconscious. "Quick! Find a way to save him!" Elder Luo shouted. "Impossible, the injuries are too severe. The spiritual damage is irreversible." The speaker was an SSR-level medical Dao practitioner named Zhang Jing. At the early heavenly connection stage, awakened the miraculous healing system, but the spiritual injuries were too severe, leaving him nearly powerless. "Even so, find a way. He cannot be harmed," Elder Luo said gravely. Rin Zhonghai was the dean of the martial arts college at Qingzhou University. In significant matters, Rin Zhonghai absolutely stood on Elder Luo's side. Elder Luo greatly acknowledged Rin Zhonghai's abilities. Seeing Rin Zhonghai so gravely injured made him anxious. However, his system's flaw was apparent. The leisure system could enhance specific abilities through points but fell short in healing others. "Do you have a way?" Elder Luo turned to Qian Qingba. Qian Qingba hesitated slightly. He had already traversed the Dao and was without a system but, having lived in the Edge Corner airspace for years, retained some heritage. The Edge Corner airspace housed various powerful races, with countless Immortal Realm and Inquiry Dao realm beings, making Heavenly Connection stage lowly. A bit of breath soil sufficed to buy some healing elixirs for such injuries there. Returning to Juzhou, Xiang Beifei bought many precious elixirs for him. However, Qian Qingba believed they should be reserved for Elder Luo until they caught the traitor, not for others. "Can you save him?" Elder Luo noticed Qian Qingba's expression. "I reserved it for you." "Then hand it over," Elder Luo commanded. Qian Qingba hesitated briefly, then finally took out a white elixir and handed it over. Elder Luo observed the elixir, analyzing with his ability, surprisingly, without further words, immediately fed it to Ren Zhonghai. A cyan radiance blossomed within Ren Zhonghai, gradually healing his injuries, and his breath slowly stabilized. Elder Luo sighed in relief, glanced at Qian Qingba, then immediately began organizing the aftermath. Before long, someone hurriedly arrived, saying, "Commander Luo, Yuzhou's Yuchenghe was attacked by desolate beasts. They've issued a support request." Yuzhou. Elder Luo promptly stood up, ran to the command center, and upon careful inspection, dozens of desolate beasts approached the border in Yuzhou on the electronic map. "Damn it!" Without delay, Elder Luo turned and rushed toward Yuzhou. When Elder Luo arrived in Yuzhou, the desolate beast herd turned and fled again. Bastard! Elder Luo watched their retreating direction, his gaze filled with fury. In Yuzhou, Yu Chenghe was also gravely injured, barely breathing. Elder Luo had to make Qian Qingba use another life-saving elixir. But Elder Luo didn't wait long here before another support request came from Liangzhou. This time, dozens of beasts shifted towards Liangzhou. Elder Luo had to rush to Liangzhou immediately. Qian Qingba struggled to keep up with Elder Luo, saying, "Professor Luo, someone is manipulating these desolate beasts, deliberately playing guerrilla tactics to exhaust your spiritual power, trying to tire you out. We can't fall into their trap. What else can I do? Let them invade Jojo." Elder Luo retorted solemnly. Only he could withstand the assault of a large group of Heavenly Connection desolate beasts. Only he could slaughter them like little sheep, while other Heavenly Connection martial artists could handle 2 or 3 desolate beasts at most. Facing dozens alone meant certain death. Elder Luo had a significant power gap compared to other Jojo experts. Without him, the destruction these beasts brought would be unstoppable, assuredly breaching Jojo. "We need to devise a strategy. We can't be led by the nose like this," Qian Qingba suggested. "There's only one way." Elder Luo clenched his fist. "What is it?" "Catch up and annihilate the entire herd." "No way." Qian Qingba disagreed. "Don't you understand? This is exactly the solution that the one manipulating the beasts left for me. They are luring me to chase these beasts deliberately, to end this guerrilla war by slaughtering them all." Elder Luo's strength wasn't only in combat. It was also in his wisdom and exceptional analytical ability. However, the guy from the Dao Palace was smart too, concentrating beast attacks on one location, then retreating upon Elder Luo's arrival, disappearing beyond Jojo's detectable map range. It would randomly reappear elsewhere, previously in Qingzhou, then possibly in Liangzhou or Yongzhou next. By not pursuing these beasts, the next attack location remained unpredictable. The choice left for Elder Luo was singular. Venture alone into the outer desolate realm, to chase these beasts. Qian Qingba said, "Since Professor Luo knows this is their tactic, are you still going to take the bait? You should know, once you chase after them, you'll inevitably face countless traps waiting for you. They must be confident they can kill you to dare make such a move. We must grasp the initiative in our own hands," Elder Luo said in a deep voice. "Grasping the initiative doesn't mean jumping into their traps," Qian Qingba said. Elder Luo glanced at Qian Qingba, not answering immediately, but instead continued to speed towards Liangzhou. In reality, he knew all these things, but many times, even if you know something, you still have to do it. Up until now, the warriors killed by the onslaught of these Heavenly Connection realm desolate beasts, according to incomplete statistics, have surpassed 8,000. And these people were almost all martial artists in the Meridian opening stage and God refining stage, unable to escape when the Heavenly Connection realm desolate beasts breached the city walls. If these Heavenly Connection realm desolate beasts aren't exterminated at once, the casualties will only continue to increase. Qian Qingba didn't understand what Elder Luo meant by holding the initiative, but he knew he couldn't face these desolate beasts alone either. His combat power in the Heavenly Connection realm was nowhere near as terrifying as Elder Luo's. His strength certainly couldn't reach the horrific levels of Elder Luo. Liangzhou. At this moment, Shang Tianxiong was already surrounded by a dozen or so desolate beasts, covered in blood. One of his arms had been severed, a horrifying hole pierced through his chest, his figure teetering, yet still fighting ferociously. Shang Tianxiong was an incredibly powerful body cultivation expert. His strength and defense were quite terrifying. He was also a legendary figure known for his N-level talent, inspiring countless N-level awakener, showing them that body cultivation could also reach extremely powerful levels. His actual realm wasn't particularly high, only at the initial Heavenly Connection stage, but relying solely on physical strength was enough to rival later-stage Heavenly Connection experts. Juzhou had some special strong cultivators who were very unusual in training. In some aspects, they were unremarkable, but in specialized cultivation, they were frighteningly powerful, like Professor Guo's impenetrable defense, Shang Tianxiong's super strength. Even with one arm severed, Shang Tianxiong was stubbornly fighting these desolate beasts, withstanding this wave of beast tide's offensive. But just then, a desolate beast suddenly slashed towards his head. He couldn't dodge at all. At the critical moment, a burst of explosive fist wind roared, instantly blowing the desolate beast's head apart. Elder Luo had arrived, but unsurprisingly, as soon as he appeared, a sharp sound echoed once again from the depths of the great desolate realm. Boom! 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 All the heavenly connection realm desolate beasts, upon hearing the sound, once again turned tail and fled. They ran extremely fast, almost instantly widening the gap from Elder Luo, disappearing into the vast great desolate realm. Yet this time, Elder Luo didn't hesitate. Flashing away, his whole body vanished. Wait! Qian Qingba shouted loudly, immediately chasing after Elder Luo. Seeing Elder Luo chase after those beast hordes, Shang Tianxiong was also very surprised, shouted, "Commander Luo, don't pursue too deeply." But Elder Luo's speed was too fast, disappearing without a trace in an instant, completely unable to hear what he was saying. This is bad. How can he enter the desolate realm alone? Shang Tianxiong ground his teeth, climbed up from the ground, but he was also heavily injured, stumbling after just 2 steps, almost falling down. "Commander Shang, are you all right?" At this moment, a figure rushed over. It was Yin Yanqing. Yin Yanqing was guarding Yangzhou, which was next to Liangzhou. When danger occurred in Liangzhou, she rushed over to support, seeing the injuries on Shang Tianxiong, immediately taking out a bottle of medicine to heal him. The severed arm was slowly recovering. Yin Yanqing's healing ability was powerful. Shang Tianxiong said anxiously, "I'm fine, Commander Luo." "Commander Luo is in trouble. What happened to him?" Yin Yanqing paused, immediately asked. "He went to pursue the desolate beasts alone," Shang Tianxiong said with a pale face. "This is ridiculous. How can the Zhuzhou commander go to the desolate realm alone? What is he doing?" Yin Yanqing said in shock. The commander of Zhuzhou was the chief commander of Beast Tide Resistance. Needing to oversee Zhuzhou, coordinate all fronts, the commander's safety above all, absolutely cannot leave Zhuzhou and risk himself. This was the alliance's consensus. But Yin Yanqing also didn't expect Elder Luo to suddenly leave. "Which direction did he go?" Yin Yanqing asked. "That way," Shang Tianxiong said with effort. "You wait here, I'll go find him." Whoosh! Yin Yanqing flashed away, rushing towards the direction where the beast tide left. "What are you doing?" "I'm going to bring him back." Yin Yanqing's voice echoed in Shang Tianxiong's ears. "Wait!" Shang Tianxiong got up, shouted loudly from the back, but Yin Yanqing had already disappeared into the vast fog. "This is trouble." Shang Tianxiong's eyes contained a trace of unease, immediately turned and ran towards Zhuzhou's city wall. This news must be informed to others. Qian Qingba landed on a mountain peak. The mountain peak was filled with gray miasma. Beneath him were heaps of bones piled together, with desolate beast skulls and human remains, but no desolate beasts were in sight. His expression was very anxious because he lost Elder Luo. Where did he go? Qian Qingba stood on high ground looking out, hoping to find traces of Elder Luo. But Elder Luo's speed was indeed too fast. Pursuing the desolate beasts with all his might, Elder Luo's speed was terrifyingly to the limit. But what baffles Qian Qingba the most is, why have the desolate beasts here disappeared as well? Although these are heavenly connection stage desolate beasts, their strengths vary greatly. Many excel in strength but aren't necessarily fast runners. Logically, Elder Luo should have caught up with them quickly and proceeded to slaughter them. Yet, the reality is different. Qian Qingba was only slightly slower than Elder Luo, yet when he arrived, Elder Luo was gone, and so was the horde of desolate beasts. It was as if Elder Luo and the desolate beasts vanished into thin air. Qian Qingba's expression grew more grave. His divine sense quickly swept out, and soon he discovered something, leaping forward to land lightly in a swamp. He gently explored the edge of the swamp, Witnessing the flow of sand in the muddy swamp, his face suddenly changed. Breath soil formation. It's the Tao Palace. Among the human race in the Edgecorner airspace, he was one of the elders with particularly rich experience. Because of the need to protect the human race, he was very familiar with the methods of the Tao Palace, and the breath soil in the swamp in front of him was a formation created by the Tao Palace. This kind of formation was very hidden. Even someone familiar with the Tao Palace's methods like him had to carefully explore to find it. But Elder Luo knew too little about the Tao Palace, probably unaware that he had already fallen into these formations. Not good. Not good. Not good. Qian Qingba was burning with anxiety. His duty was to ensure the safety of Elder Luo, but he hadn't expected Elder Luo to act so recklessly this time, not even waiting for him. Thus he couldn't guarantee Elder Luo's safety. He looked around at these formations, analyzing quickly. He must decipher the characteristics of these formations swiftly to find Elder Luo. Elder Luo frowned. He stood on a massive head. Under his foot was the enormous head of a desolate beast. It looked incredibly large, at least 50 meters high, resembling a snake's head, but in another way, it also looked like a tiger's head, with two venomous horns capable of corroding spiritual power on its head, though they were now broken off. This was a late-stage heavenly connection desolate beast. Just moments ago Elder Luo had violently twisted off its head, its immense body lying not far away, yellow blood gushing from the severed part like a fountain, forming a lake. Around this desolate beast were 5 or 6 more desolate beast corpses, all slain by Elder Luo. However, he didn't feel relieved, because those desolate beasts had disappeared. While pursuing, there were more than 40 of them. He only killed about 10, yet the rest vanished. No, they didn't disappear. They're still nearby. Elder Luo closed his eyes, his powerful spiritual power swiftly spreading out. Instantly everything was reflected clearly in his mind. Those desolate beasts hadn't left. They were more like invisible. The most important thing is, their invisibility was bizarre. Unlike the usual way of assimilating with the surroundings to become temporarily unseen, they were truly out of sight. It felt like space. Elder Luo suddenly opened his eyes, a sharp gleam in them. Then he turned his head towards a large boulder on the left, suddenly punching it. Crack, crack. The void in front seemed to be shattering like glass. Countless cracks appeared in the air. A green-red large bird crouching there. As the void cracked, a mass of green ice mist swept over. The mist exuded a chill. Where it spread, even air seemed unable to move, everything frozen. Even ordinary spiritual power could be frozen. As soon as Elder Luo shattered the space, the mist enveloped him, instantly turning him into an ice sculpture. Whoosh! The green-red bird flapped its wings, charging towards Elder Luo. The surrounding area of 10 miles was frozen into ice blocks, but it moved through the ice effortlessly, reaching Elder Luo in an instant, its sharp wings chopping towards Elder Luo's head. But before the wings reached Elder Luo's neck, the ice mist around him suddenly exploded. He swung his hand, those old but strong hands grabbing the bird's wings, pulling hard. Crash! The bird was torn apart by him. Elder Luo charged out of the ice mist, punching towards the left area again. The void shattered there. A steel black snake's head just poking out was blasted with a blood hole, instantly dying. After figuring out the positions of the hidden desolate beasts, Elder Luo immediately punched one after another, pulling all these hidden desolate beasts from the void and killing them all. In just a moment, all 37 desolate beasts were completely slain by Elder Luo. Using his spiritual power to confirm all desolate beasts were slaughtered, Elder Luo prepared to turn back. But just then, he abruptly heard a strange sound. Swish! 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 The sand on the ground began to shift. The sand seemed to come from nowhere, subtly extending to the remains of those desolate beasts, as if some eerie force wrapped around these desolate beast fragments, gradually drawing them together. Crack! 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 The ragged bodies of desolate beasts seemed to be drawn together by the sand. Severed heads pulled back to necks, torn wings reattached, broken bones stuffed back. In the blink of an eye, all the desolate beasts were restored to completeness under the action of the sand. Roar! Roar. Even more bizarre, these desolate beasts actually began to open their eyes again, roaring as if coming back to life. Whoosh! The air was filled again with a murderous presence. The desolate beasts that restored completeness moved once more towards Elder Luo. They're not dead. Elder Luo was extremely surprised. These desolate beasts were killed by his absolute power. Each blow was fatal, smashing the opponent's spirit, dead beyond dead. But he never imagined the slaughtered desolate beasts would stand again under the action of sand. And judging by the state of these desolate beasts, they seemed restored to peak strength, even becoming more agile. Elder Luo felt something was amiss, yet there was no time to think. With the desolate beasts charging at him, he still had to respond. Boom! 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 Elder Luo's figure weaved amidst the frenzied desolate beasts, once more smashing them all to fragments. But soon, swish, 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 the shattered limbs were once again swept by the sand, reassembling into complete desolate beasts. Those beasts, restored to peak strength, charged once more at Elder Luo. So troublesome. Gasping for breath, Elder Luo's gaze towards these desolate beasts had changed. These desolate beasts had been killed by him hundreds of times. Yet every time he killed one, another reassembled. As he finished killing here, a resurrection occurred there, endless. He knew he couldn't linger. The sand was undoubtedly strange. The source of the sand had to be dealt with first, but after searching for a long time, he couldn't find where the sand was located. The most crucial point was he couldn't find an exit. Elder Luo punched continuously, shattering the void, but here it seemed like countless layers of space trapped him. He couldn't figure out where the outermost space was. Continuing like this, the situation would become increasingly dire. He was strong, but his spiritual power was limited. He couldn't endlessly keep killing. Exhaustion would inevitably come. Must fight towards one direction. Elder Luo looked ahead, punching the void continuously. Crack, crack. The void in front kept tearing apart, desolate beasts continuously emerging. Yet he broke through several voids, not leaving the range. By now, he clearly felt exhaustion creeping in. Bang! His punch landed on a massive purple-haired longhorn elephant. Yet it didn't shatter like before, only sending it flying. His strength was lagging, and these desolate beasts seemed tougher upon continuous striking. The situation was becoming unfavorable. Luo Yunxian, where are you? At this moment, a voice filled with anxiety echoed from afar. Elder Luo listened carefully. It was Yin Yanqing,